The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1376 Dilemma. HMPH, you're smart. Get lost now. The two tunnel worms were smug and flew out of Erich's nest. Two idiots. Erich snorted coldly. Do you really think that I came to your territory for these broken meteorites? There are plenty of meteorites in my territory, and I'm too lazy to eat them bit by bit. My target is you. Only by eating you can my children thrive. However, I have already felt that human spacecraft have entered the asteroid belt. Their mental fluctuations are very weak. Don't worry, I will kill you first, then eat humans. Their mechas are all rare metals, which are great supplements for us tunnel worms. In the asteroid belt, meteorites are floating everywhere, some big and some small, with a diameter of several meters, and the diameter of several kilometers, or even hundreds of kilometers. A large black net spread across this asteroid belt without any light, quietly covering it, and covering the two largest meteorites. Finally I found your nest. Erich was delighted. He had just left pheromones on the bodies of the two moth clones, and tracked their nests. Closing the net, Erich's mental power moved, and the net immediately tightened, covering the two meteorites and tightly wrapping them. Not good. Erich is attacking us. It actually attacked first. This is bad. By the time Nice and Callan reacted, it was too late. Crack. Crack. The huge meteorites made a sound of rock breaking. Under the pressure of the huge insect net, the meteorites could not support themselves and collapsed towards the center. Boom. The two huge meteorites, along with the tunnel worm nest inside, were covered by the insect net. After the collapse, they quickly shrank and became a sphere with a diameter of 800 meters. The matter inside was highly compressed, and the two tunnel worms died and turned into meat sauce. Hahaha, success. So much food, enough for my children to have a meal. Erich was ecstatic, and began to close a net. In the asteroid belt, the mecha of the glory team turned on the life detector, and traveled among the meteorites, looking for traces of tunnel worms. Zuemo, let's bet and see who can find the nest of tunnel worms first. Huoli said to Zuemo, who was driving a long-range sniper mecha. You bet with me? My superpower is in my eyes, which can see through. If anyone can find it first, it must be me. Zuemo smiled. Let's bet. I bet 100 points. Hahaha, Zuemo, you are too confident. I, an old man, will also get involved. I'm a killer, very sensitive to mental power, and can see the traces of mental power left behind. Boy, you will definitely lose. Aang stroked his goatee and laughed. Haha, I think it's Dracula. Debbie suddenly laughed. I'll bet too. 100 points. But I bet on Dracula to find it first. Why bet on him? The team members were all surprised. We often play cards together, don't you understand? Newcomers are often lucky. No matter how good your superpowers are at investigation, you can't beat luck. Debbie smiled proudly. You're right, luck is the most important thing. Mark also laughed. I'm betting on Dracula. I'm optimistic about this kid. He's so young, but he's already become a legend. Who in the entire starry sky can compare to his luck? Big brothers, big sisters. You think too highly of me. Xia Xingchen smiled and was in a good mood. Although they were clearly carrying out a dangerous mission, everyone was talking and laughing, and the atmosphere was very good. Xia Xingchen really liked the harmonious and relaxed atmosphere in the glory team. He was secretly glad that he didn't go to the big team, but chose to come to the glory team. It turned out to be the right choice. Xia Xingchen searched for the traces of the tunnel worm, and felt very relaxed. Beep beep alarm, alarm. A high energy reaction occurred 100 kilometers to the right. A high energy warning suddenly sounded in the cockpit of the mecha. The old team members who were originally talking and laughing suddenly changed their faces. Almost at the same time, they all entered the combat state, holding their own weapons in the mecha's hands. Boom. A short muffled sound. Then, the space returned to calm, and the energy fluctuations also stopped abruptly. What just happened? What's with that high energy reaction? Debbie was stunned. It's already an energy reaction at the level of a nuclear explosion. Zuemo looked at the instrument index and frowned. I don't know. Aang shook his head. It's a really weird place. It was a false alarm. Let's continue exploring. Mark touched his head and said, well, the energy reaction has stopped. Let's continue exploring. Everyone looked at the detector on the mecha. There was nothing unusual within the radar range, and their tense nerves relaxed. Something's wrong. Xia Xingchen frowned tightly and muttered softly. He just spread his omniscience domain, but it couldn't extend forward after 1,000 meters, as if it hit an invisible transparent wall. Xia Xingchen had never encountered such a weird situation. Master once said that the domain is actually a form of mental power. Could it be that my domain is suppressed by a stronger mental power? Or thought popped up in Xia Xingchen's mind. Before Xia Xingchen could speak, Ga, who had been silent all the time, suddenly shouted in a low voice, no, it's a strong man from the tunnel worm. It has discovered us and set a trap. Retreat immediately. Everyone, follow me. The mecha driven by Ga was a custom-made mecha with a height of 10 meters. There was nothing special about it from the outside, except that the back was bulging, as if it was carrying a huge shield. At this time, Ga was already operating the mecha, and stretched out his hand to pull out the shield behind him. There were not one, but two huge shields, one golden and the other silver, with a roaring lion on the pattern. Double shield mecha? Xia Xingchen was slightly startled, and sighed in his heart. Legendary strongmen are indeed extraordinary. They actually use double shields as weapons? Could it be that Captain Ga's mecha is similar to Zhang Yan's, abandoning the offensive ability, and is a pure defensive mecha? The other team members reacted quickly, and no longer asked any more questions. They immediately followed Ga, and flew out of the asteroid belt. Xia Xingchen drove the Qinglang mecha, and flew in the center of the team. Everyone was about to fly out of the asteroid belt. Swish! A huge black web appeared in the starry sky ahead, like a spider web, sticking to the meteor right next to it, blocking the passage. This web. It was clearly not there just now. Zuemo was startled and said loudly, we are really being targeted by tunnel worms. Fortunately, Captain Gal was alert. Otherwise, we would have fallen into a trap just now. Debbie was scared. It's incredible that tunnel worms can set traps and ambushes. Aang shook his head with surprise. Don't touch this web. Gal said in a deep voice. Take a detour. Let's rush out. As the saying goes, speed is the essence of war. Gal's reaction and decision making were very fast. However, all the passages have been covered by the black giant web. The insect net laid by the tunnel worm Erichi is like a cage, completely wrapping up Xia Xingchen and his team. Chapter 1377. The fierce battle begins. Bus. The black giant net was unknown how many kilometers long, completely enveloping this asteroid belt. The net was covered with strong acid, corroding meteorites, and constantly emitting white smoke, and making a sizzling sound. It's the strong acid net of the tunnel worms. Once the strong acid net sticks to it, even the mecha will be completely corroded. The old members all exclaimed in the public channel. Find a way to bypass it. This is a strong tunnel worm, estimated to be 700 or 800 years old. We are no match for it. We must escape, otherwise we may be wiped out. Gal shouted anxiously. Understood. Immediately, Gal took the lead, driving the double shield mecha, and the other team members followed him through the asteroid belt, looking for a route to escape. Xia Xingchen was puzzled. Why do you keep running? Although this strong acid net is tough, it may not be impossible to break it. Just tear it open and escape from the front, isn't it? Tear it open. This strong acid net is woven by tunnel worms, after swallowing a lot of meteorite metals, leaving the strongest parts that even tunnel worms can't digest. The older the tunnel worms are, the larger the strong acid nets are. Therefore, just by looking at the size of the strong acid net, you can infer the lifespan of the tunnel worms. The strong acid net in front of you is so huge that tunnel worm is at least 800 or 900 years old. It is already equivalent to a star-level powerhouse. Gal explained to Xia Xingchen while running away. Xia Xingchen nodded slightly. If it was an ordinary metal giant net, the flame of destruction of the Suzuki mecha could easily burn it. However, Since this huge strong acid net was woven by tunnel worms over the years, it should be the strongest alloy in the galaxy. It is indeed not an easy task to break it. But the tunnel worms probably don't know our exact location. They just trapped us with a strong acid net to prevent us from escaping. We are still safe for the time being, Huoli said with a serious face. Buzz buzz buzz. At this moment, countless black shadows suddenly flew over from all directions. They were dense moth-like creatures. Oh no, the tunnel worms have locked our location and sent their moth clones to attack us. Gal shouted loudly. Moth clone. Xia Xingchen was stunned and tried to recall the relevant information about the tunnel worms. Like the star-eating worms, the tunnel worms not only have strong bodies, but also have terrifying mental power. The tunnel worms will lay two kinds of eggs. One kind of egg hatches with the same shape as the tunnel worms and is the offspring of the tunnel worms. The other kind of egg, when hatched, is in the shape of a moth, about 10 meters long. It is called a moth clone. The role of this moth clone is to find food and defend, similar to the star-eating worms that will cultivate a large number of worker insects. The only difference is that the intelligence of the star-eating insect workers is very low. There is a pituitary gland in the brain that can receive the mental fluctuations of the queen insect and be controlled by the queen insect. The moth clone of the tunnel worm is directly controlled by mental power. There are similarities between the two, but there are also essential differences. The biggest difference is that a star-eating insect queen can cultivate tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of workers and directly devour a planet. The number of moth clones of the tunnel worm is much smaller. Xia Xingchen took a breath and looked over. The body length of these moths is about 10 meters, which is about the same size as ordinary mechas. They have a pair of thin membrane wings on their backs and a big mouth full of interlaced fangs. A single moth clone is not powerful. However, there are too many of them. The hairs on Xia Xingchen's body stood up one by one, and he felt a strong sense of oppression. This is a Zerg. Xia Xingchen's mouth corners were slightly raised. Compared with the panic of facing the ugly insects, he was more eager to fight. Not good. This tunnel worm wants to prey on us. First, surround it with a strong acid net, and then send out a moth clone to attack. This is the most common method of predation for tunnel worms, and it is also the most deadly. Everyone, prepare to fight. Follow me, break through quickly, and rush out of the strong acid net as soon as possible. Gare ordered. Understood. The team members all nodded. We are faster than these worms, Mark said. At this time, hundreds of moth clones in the front, with circles of purple patterns on their bodies, saw that they could not catch up with the people of the glory team, and suddenly flew to the meteorites next to them, and swallowed them in big mouthfuls. These meteorites are extremely hard, and then the moths secrete strong acid in their mouths, which makes the meteorites soften quickly. When they bite it, it is like tofu. In a blink of an eye, they swallow a large piece. Their abdomens are also strangely swollen, as if they are pregnant. Be careful. They are going to launch meteorite bombs. Gare's face changed slightly, and he quickly reminded loudly. Puff, puff, puff. From the mouth of the moth, like a string of cannonballs, a large number of spherical shells with a diameter of 3 or 4 meters were spewed out, bombarding Xia Xingchen and others. Whoosh. These meteorite shells were extremely fast and had amazing destructive power. One hit a meteorite not far from Xia Xingchen and directly penetrated it, leaving a huge transparent hole. More meteorite shells, like raindrops, poured down on everyone. Captain Gar roared, and a strong mental wave was transmitted from his body. A circular khaki field also spread rapidly. The two huge shields on the two hands of the mecha merged into one, forming a huge shield like a door panel, standing in front. Support the captain. Huoli also roared, and a burning flame hammer appeared in the hand of the mecha, waving it towards the dense meteorite shells. Water shield. Debbie concentrated. Her eyes became empty, and a light blue water shield appeared in front. This water shield could not block the attack of the meteorite shells, but it could greatly reduce their speed. Lock. Sniper Zuemo's eyes spread out a brilliant light, and the objects that entered his field of vision all moved extremely slowly, only 1/10 of their previous speed. His mecha held a sniper laser rifle, emitting laser death rays, accurately hitting one meteorite bomb after another. The other mecha masters of the glory team also showed their own means at this moment to fight against the moth clone. Xia Xingchen drove the King Lang mecha and did not rush into the attack. Instead, he condensed one starry sky barrier after another to block the meteorite bombs and support Gal. Boom boom boom. Countless meteorite bombs were shot down, but many also bombarded the double shields of Gal's mecha, causing a series of explosions. The powerful energy spread out, and one after another fierce energy shockwaves also hit Xia Xingchen and the others, but most of the attacks were taken down by Captain Gal. Chapter 1378 Backhand. Captain. Xia Xingchen looked at Ga with some worry. I can handle it. Ga was panting, his eyes were full of bloodshot, and his face was bulging with veins. It was obvious that he was exhausted this time. It's a big trouble. This tunnel worm is very powerful and is determined to eat us. There is no way to continue to escape. We can only fight. There is still a glimmer of hope in fighting. Yes, why run away? It's too cowardly. The other party is just a worm. Mark licked his lips, and his eyes were burning with fighting spirit. We humans also have backbone. Hooli shouted. Fight. Let's fight this worm. Who is afraid of who? Aang's face showed a sneer. Seeing that the possibility of escape was very slim, the other team members were also boiling with fighting spirit. Dracula, Debbie, you two should be careful. The battle later may be very fierce. We may not have time to take care of you. Gar said. Well, I'm at the Planeta re-level after all, so I can protect myself. It's mainly Dracula, he is relatively weak. Debbie said. It doesn't matter, I have the ability to protect myself. Xia Xingchen's face was calm. His mental power level is indeed low, but it does not mean that his strength is weak. If Xia Xingchen takes out his mental power clone, controls the Azure Dragon Mech and the Vermilion Bad Mech at the same time, and fights with all his strength in the glory battlefield, except for Gal, the rest of the people are probably not Xia Xingchen's opponents. In the future world, mecha sarking, mental power level is a basis for controlling mechas. The level of strength still depends on whose mecha has stronger performance. Deep in the asteroid belt, inside a huge meteorite, a cylindrical giant worm with a length of hundreds of meters and a diameter of 30 meters broke through the pupa and slowly crawled out. This is the main body of the tunnel worm. It opened its huge mouth and swallowed the squeezed meteorite debris in front of it into its stomach. Its fleshy body swelled up obviously. Wait until I eat the accumulation of these two idiots for so many years, and then eat the mechas of those humans as dessert. Hehe, what a wonderful day. Erachi squirmed his huge body and made a satisfied sound. In the asteroid belt, after launching the meteor bomb attack, the other moth clones also came from the side, surrounded the glory team, and immediately launched a fierce attack. Crack, crack. These moth clones rubbed their sharp teeth, emitted chaotic and harsh fluctuations through their mental power, and rushed towards Xia Xingchen and others. The glory team fought against thousands of moth clones. In the dark and boundless abyss, being besieged by so many insects, this scene alone gave Debbie, a woman, goosebumps all over her body. Crush these insects. The flame power user Huoli roared, holding a huge flame warhammer, waving it wildly, and the chaotic hammer emitted chaotic flames and smashed towards the moth group. A single moth is not strong, and Huoli is a legendary mecha master. Every legend of mankind is a peerless strongman who has experienced hundreds of battles and is very experienced in combat. Boom. The flame hammer hit a moth hard, smashing it into pulp. Green juice splashed out and was evaporated by the high temperature of the flame hammer, turning it into ashes. Dracula, use your most powerful attack. The flesh of these insects is very hard. You can't even break the shells outside their bodies with ordinary attacks. Huoli taught Xia Xingchen combat experience while fighting. He treated Xia Xingchen as a rookie and took care of him as much as possible. Understood. Xia Xingchen shrugged his shoulders, and the magic weapon system condensed a thunder spear. It stabbed out with a strike, and the thunder light leaped, directly piercing a moth. The body hung on the spear, and the spear swept across, throwing the dead body out. Compared with the monsters in the dimensional cube, it's not too strong. Xia Xingchen looked relaxed. Bald Mark's mecha weapon was a heavy giant blood-colored battle blade. He danced with both hands, like a whirlwind, rushing through the moth group. Sword skills, whirlwind slash. Mark kept spinning, and cold sword lights kept bursting out everywhere. Wherever the sword light passed, moths were cut into pieces. Mark, be careful. Zuemo reminded on the side, your fighting method is too reckless. I have been covering you. Don't leave my field of vision. Thank you. Mark smiled and rushed into the enemy formation again, strangling the sword with all his might. The legendary mecha masters of the glory team were all rushing around on the battlefield, as if they were in an empty space. Except for the pharmacist Debbie, her water ability was not good at close combat. What's more, there is no water available in the universe. Her combat effectiveness was also greatly reduced. Fortunately, she found ice in a meteorite and immediately melted it to form a water chain to protect herself. Dracula, your gun skills are good, right? And why is your weapon condensed from thunder? Aren't you a telekinetic user? How can you use electrical abilities? Aang was extremely fast and good at assassination. He quickly killed several moths around him and looked in the direction of Xia Xingchen, his face full of surprise. The thunder spear in the hands of the Azure Dragon Mecha had simple gun skills, but it was extremely practical and efficient in killing enemies. In the blink of an eye, there were dense moth corpses around him. This kid killed more than me? Huo Lai was also paying attention to Xia Xingchen, and he was stunned at this time. My mecha has thunder attributes, and can perform some electrical attacks. However, it is definitely not as powerful as an electrical user. Xia Xingchen said truthfully. For Xia Xingchen, the only disadvantage of the Azure Dragon Mecha is that most of its attacks are electrical. The same is true for the Suzuki Mecha, which mainly attacks fire. As a telekinetic user, Xia Xingchen cannot bring out the greatest advantages of these two mechas. In the eyes of Aang, Ga, Huo Lai and others, the mecha of Mecha Master must match his own superpowers. Otherwise, it would be a great waste of the mecha's performance. Alas, there is no way. After all, I'm a mecha maintenance master. I have money, and can have any mecha I want. Zuemo sighed. These moths are not that strong. They can't trap us. But, these tunnel worms should have a backup plan. Xia Xingchen said. In the asteroid belt, in the nest of tunnel worms, the tunnel worm Erichi was eating, and suddenly exclaimed, I can't defeat the weak humans with so many moth clones. I'm still eating, and can't go to the battlefield myself. There is no way. I can only let my children go. Zulu, Yili, you two wake up, and bring me the human mecha. Erichi ordered. The ground of the meteorite was vibrating and breaking apart. Two tunnel worms exactly like Erichi appeared, but they were much smaller, only 100 meters. Yes, sir. The two tunnel worms opened their mouths wide, directly tore the space apart, drilled into the subspace, and lurked in the direction of the glory team. Chapter 1379. All the cards are revealed. The reason why tunnel worms are called tunnel worms is because they have a special ability to devour space and dig tunnels in space, similar to human starships making jumps and traveling in subspace. Some scientists even believe that the wormholes in the universe are not formed naturally, but are formed by a creature similar to tunnel worms that devour space. In a flash, Zhulo and Yi Li, two tunnel worms, dug near the starfield, where the glory team is located and poked their heads out. Wow. As soon as they met, the two tunnel worms opened their mouths and spit strong acid in the direction of Gal. The acid fell like raindrops, and the meteorites that were soaked were instantly corroded and pitted. In the starry sky, the mecha divisions of the glory team, who had already gained the upper hand, suddenly changed their faces. Ah, it's the tunnel worm itself. It appears. Everyone be careful and avoid the strong acid. Everyone exclaimed and drove the mecha to make evasive actions. The range of this strong acid rain is too large. We can't dodge it. Gar frowned, and instead of retreating, he advanced, holding the giant shield in both hands of the mecha, and rushed towards the strong acid rain. Captain! Captain, what are you doing? Get out of the way! The other team members shouted loudly. Gar had already rushed up in the double shield mecha, and the giant shield in his hand was divided into two sides again. One side was blocked in front of him to resist the attack of the strong acid rain, and the other side was waved. Get out! Gar roared, and the golden shield in his hand hit the head of a tunnel worm fiercely. Bang! The tunnel worm was hit right, and its huge body flew backwards, twisting continuously in midair, and it was in terrible pain. The part that was hit was sunken, revealing flesh and blood, as well as the hard bones underneath. However, the wound on its head began to heal quickly. After just a few seconds, the wound was completely healed, and new pink flesh grew. At the same time, it was covered with a layer of metal crystals, making it stronger. Xia Xingchen, who was far away, saw this and his face suddenly changed. What a terrifying self-healing ability. The bodies of the Zerg are too strong. Captain Gar is good at defense, and his attack is not destructive enough to kill the tunnel worms in one blow. Instead, it makes their bodies harder. These tunnel worms are not normal. Their bodies are too strong. The strength of the tunnel worms' bodies is related to the metal they devour. The physical quality of these two tunnel worms is 2 to 3 times that of ordinary tunnel worms. The faces of the other team members all changed drastically. They no longer dared to despise them. The strength of these two tunnel worms far exceeded those moth clones. Buzz buzz buzz. A large group of moth clones kept biting the surrounding meteorites, swallowing large pieces of meteorite metal, and sending them to the two tunnel worms for them to eat. After eating, the tunnel worm shone with a metallic luster, which was particularly dazzling in the dark. Be careful, the bodies of these two beasts are too hard. Gar said anxiously in the team channel. Let me try. Huoli didn't believe in evil, and rushed forward with the mecha waving the flaming hammer. The flaming hammer sprayed dazzling flames, like a long rainbow, and bombarded a tunnel worm. Boom. 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 The flames shot up into the sky, black smoke filled the air, and hundreds of huge fireballs with a diameter of more than 5 meters bombarded the tunnel worm. However, after the flames went out, the tunnel worm was unharmed. Mark, Debbie, Zuemo, Aing and others, including Xia Xingchen, all changed their faces and launched their strongest attacks. Suddenly, the dark starry sky was illuminated by energy beams, and countless meteorites were torn into pieces by the energy and turned into powder. The power was amazing. Let's fight. I don't believe I can't hurt you. Kill, kill, kill. The scarlet battle blade in Mark's hand flashed with a strange red light, and the entire mecha was covered with a layer of red. The painting skill Crazy Outlaw was activated, and the attack frequency and damage were doubled. There's nothing I can do. Debbie frowned slightly, took out a bottle of colorful potion, raised her head and drank it. A diamond-shaped crystal appeared on her forehead, and her temperament changed dramatically. A strong aura spread from her body. The power of a pharmacist lies not in herself, but in the potion. Debbie took this bottle of colorful potion, which was incredibly expensive, and could be worth half a mecha. She also took out her best tricks, and prepared to fight to the death. Behind the mecha of the shadow, a huge black shadow appeared. It was hundreds of meters tall, holding two sharp daggers, with two black giant wings on its back, and murderous intent permeated its body. I have to take action too. Among the entire glory team, Xia Xingchen was the calmest. Xia Xingchen was no match for the star-level tunnel worm hidden deep in the asteroid belt. But the two tunnel worms in front of him were not very old and very young. No one else needed to take action. Xia Xingchen alone was enough to kill them. Buzz. A red figure appeared in the starry sky, and the Suzuki mecha appeared. Xia Xingchen's main body drove the Azure Dragon mecha, and his spiritual clone drove the Suzuki mecha. The two complemented each other, and prepared for battle. Another mecha? Where did the mecha come from? Is it a space ring? Dracula actually has a space ring, and he drives two mechas at the same time. Is it a spiritual clone? This scene surprised the other legendary mecha masters of the glory team. Although the body of the tunnel worm is strong, its weakness is that it is a bit slow. But even so, the two tunnel worms still made the mecha masters of the glory team helpless and in danger. Damn it. These two guys are so tough. Gal was angry. The double shield mecha has strong defense, but weak attack power. The tunnel worms could not hurt him, and he could not hurt the tunnel worms. Later, the tunnel worms ignored him, and went to chase other team members, which made Gal very angry and helpless. Boom. The shield in Gar's hand repeatedly hit the tunnel worm, blasting it away, but a moment later, the tunnel worm flew back, unharmed. Too weak. My attack is too weak. It can't cause much damage to the tunnel worm. Everyone else. Gar turned around and looked at everyone with an anxious look. Like the other team members, even if they used all their strength, they couldn't hurt the tunnel worm at all. Even Xia, who had the strongest attack power, couldn't do it. Except Dracula. Gar observed the battlefield and found that Xia Xingchen was driving 2 mechas, fighting a tunnel worm alone, with ease. One of the 2 mechas held a thunder spear and the other held a flame spear. The spear skills were perfectly coordinated, and the tunnel worm was pierced all over in an instant, with blood holes everywhere. He is obviously a primary nebula. How can he be so powerful? Gar looked dazed. Dracula is so strong. The other team members also discovered Xia Xingchen's strength, and their faces were full of shock. Chapter 1380 Stellar Level. Captain, be careful. Xia Xingchen severely injured one of the tunnel worms. Seeing that the situation was not good, the other tunnel worm went crazy. Its flesh seemed to be inflated and expanded 10 times in an instant. Its body also changed from purple to scarlet. Its round mouth was surrounded by dense black fangs and bit towards Gar. Not good. Gar was shocked. The mecha raised her shields to resist the attack of the tunnel worm. However, the mouth of the tunnel worm was too big. It swallowed the man and the mecha in one gulp. The throat bulged, like a snake swallowing eggs, swallowing down bit by bit. Spiral flying drill. Go. Seeing the critical situation, Xia Xingchen had to give up the pursuit and support Gar. The King Lang mecha jumped up, and 4 narrow silver drills appeared behind it. Whoosh. The 4 spiral flying drills were like ghosts, spinning wildly and flying towards the throat of the tunnel worm. The speed was amazing. In an instant, they shuttled through the void and disappeared into the reality. The next second, they appeared out of thin air several kilometers away. Boom. The first spiral drill bit bombarded the tunnel worm and immediately drilled a bloody hole in its throat. The magic weapon system can condense telekinetic weapons, which is Xia Xingchen's strongest attack. The remaining 3 drill bits also flew side by side at the wound of the tunnel worm and drilled 3 more bloody holes. Gar was swallowed by the tunnel worm on the double shield mecha. He felt dizzy and dark all around. He struggled hard, but couldn't break the hard body of the tunnel worm. There is strong acid in the body of the tunnel worm, and the inside is as tough as the outside. Just when Gar was desperate, suddenly his eyes lit up. The body of the tunnel worm was torn apart, and he could actually see outside. Gar didn't have time to think about it. The double shields in the mecha's hands were waving like a whirlwind, and more than a dozen sharp blades popped out from the edge of the shield, cutting along the wound. Swish. The 4 bloody holes bombarded by the spiral flying drill were cut by Gar's shield and connected together. A clear bloodline appeared on the neck of the tunnel worm, and the next moment, the whole head rolled down. Blood rushed up to the sky like a spring, and the double shield mecha was covered in blood, like a demon, and crawled out of the corpse of the tunnel worm. Captain. The team members were overjoyed to see that Gar was unharmed. Almost died. Gar's heart was full of fear, and his eyes looked at Xia Xingchen. He knew very well that, if it wasn't for Xia Xingchen's rescue, he would have been buried in the belly of the worm. Zulu. The remaining tunnel worm let out a whine. It did not intend to avenge its companions, but chose to turn around and run away. The other humans were very weak, but the human who could drive 2 mechas at the same time was too strong. It and Zulu were not opponents. Mother. Yili turned his head, opened his mouth wide, and his teeth directly tore the space apart and drilled into the subspace, trying to escape back to Erachi and let Erachi avenge Zulu. Want to leave? Can you leave? Xia Xingchen's spiritual clone, driving the Suzuki mecha, flashed a red shadow, used flowing fire like light, and instantly arrived behind the tunnel worm. The flame spear in his hand was like raindrops, bombarding it crazily. Kai kai kai. The dark flame of destruction spread all over the body of the tunnel worm. It could no longer bear it, and rolled and wailed in the flames. Die. The flame spear thrust forward, and a flame penetrated the body of the tunnel worm, burning all its internal organs, leaving only an empty shell. Both tunnel worms were killed. My child. A shrill roar came from the depths of the asteroid belt, and sounded directly in the brains of Xia Xingchen and others. Rumble. Countless meteorites shattered into thick smoke and dust, and a huge figure like a starship loomed and rushed towards the direction of the glory team. Xia Xingchen's skin was covered with a tingling feeling. This is a dangerous feeling. There is a terrifying creature approaching him rapidly. Don't be an enemy. Don't be an enemy. The powerful sixth sense reminded Xia Xingchen to run away immediately. No. It's the old tunnel worm that laid the giant net. Horrible. A star level powerhouse. What should we do? We killed its child, and it got angry. The members of the glory team were all stunned and completely dumbfounded. The strong acid net has surrounded them, and now the star level powerhouse is coming to kill them again. Is there only one way to die? Fight to the death. Even if I die, I have to die gloriously. Gar's eyes dimmed for a moment, and then flashed with dazzling brilliance. Safety first is Gar's motto. Gar has always been cautious and timid. But Gar is not a coward. He just values friendship too much, and doesn't want anyone around him to die. At this moment, death is approaching. There is no way to avoid it. Gar is no longer thinking about how to survive, but how to die more gloriously. More gorgeous. Fight to the death. The fighting spirit of the other team members was also ignited by Gar, and they were excited and raised their arms. I'm sorry, only Xia Xingchen bit his lips and shook his head slowly, without any fighting spirit. Xia Xingchen knew very well that, if he chose to fight to the death with a star level powerhouse, there would be only one outcome. That is death. In fact, everyone present knew it in their hearts. This was a deadly move. The only difference was that they had no choice but to fight to the death. But Xia Xingchen still had a way to survive. Captain, give me authorization. I need everyone in the glory team to obey my orders. I will let everyone survive. No one will die. Let's live together. Xia Xingchen said anxiously. You are strong. But in front of a star level powerhouse, you are an ant. What can you do? Gar was slightly stunned, with a look of disbelief on his face. Captain, it's too late. Give me authorization quickly. Xia Xingchen urged. Well, Gar didn't think about it for too long. If Xia Xingchen really had a way to let everyone escape from the predicament alive, it would naturally be great. Even ants try to survive. No one would be willing to die in the belly of an insect. Okay. Everyone in the glory team, listen up. Now, obey Dracula's orders completely. No one can have any objections. Gar shouted loudly. No matter what you see, don't be surprised. Xia Xingchen reminded him, put away his spiritual clone and the Suzuki Mecha, flew to Debbie and the Azure Dragon Mecha, and shouted, enter my personal space. Personal space? A space ring. Isn't the size of a space ring only large enough to fit one mecha? Debbie was startled. As a legend, she had of course heard of space rings. There were only a few space rings in the entire galactic empire, and the space inside was not large. Even so, the dream of many mecha masters was to get a space ring. Okay. Debbie didn't think much about it and agreed immediately. Whoosh. Debbie disappeared with her mecha, and entered Xia Xingchen's personal space. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1381, Breaking the Situation. Huh. Debbie disappeared? Seeing Debbie disappear with the mecha, the other team members were all stunned. I have let Debbie into my personal space for temporary refuge. Xia Xingchen explained. Xia Xingchen's personal space is a space of its own that can allow objects to enter, including living things. However, this is the first time Xia Xingchen has allowed other people to enter his personal space. The main reason is that his personal space was not big before, and there was very little air in it. If a living thing entered, it would soon suffocate to death. The size of the personal space has been expanding as Xia Xingchen's mental power has increased. Now, Xia Xingchen's personal space has tens of thousands of cubic meters, enough for all members of the glory team and the mecha to enter. Xia Xingchen cannot let conscious creatures enter the space at will. For example, hostile creatures. They will refuse to enter the personal space, and Xia Xingchen can do nothing about it. That's why Xia Xingchen asked Gar for permission to let the members of the glory team cooperate with him unconditionally. Before Debbie entered, Xia Xingchen had hidden all the sundries in the space, such as the life scroll. Is this a space ring? It's so big. Debbie found herself in a white world. There was no distinction between heaven and earth. It was a huge cubic space suspended in the air. Well, stay calm. I will rescue everyone. Xia Xingchen contacted Debbie through his mental power and told her not to panic. Understood. Debbie nodded. She felt very safe in Xia Xingchen's portable space. In the asteroid belt, Xia Xingchen set up the Qinglang Mecha and flew through the meteorites like lightning. Mark, enter my portable space. Xia Xingchen came to Mark. How big is your space ring? Can it accommodate me and Debbie? Mark looked surprised. He also knew that the capacity of the space ring was limited. Logically, it could not accommodate more than 2 mechas. Enough. Xia Xingchen said. Okay. Mark nodded. Whoosh. Bald Mark and his mecha were also collected by Xia Xingchen into the portable space. If it was a space ring, the space inside would definitely not be able to accommodate so many people. However, Xia Xingchen did not have a space ring, but a portable space that he opened up with his own mental power by relying on the source of faith. Dracula, can your space still accommodate it? Aang saw the insect shadow in the distance getting bigger and bigger. Fear spread all over his body, and his body could not stop trembling. Yes. All of you should come closer to me. Xia Xingchen said loudly. Okay. Dracula, it's up to you. Dracula. Our lives are all in your hands. Aang, Zuemo, and Huo Lai all flew to Xia Xingchen and were taken into his portable space. Dracula, you let us all enter the portable space. Then, will you try to escape from here? Captain Gal was the only one left outside, and he couldn't help asking. Yes, that's my plan. Xia Xingchen urged. Captain, you should come in too. That star-level tunnel worm is about to arrive. It's too hard for you to face the star level alone. Why don't I stay outside to help you? Gal hesitated. Captain, you just promised to obey my orders completely. Xia Xingchen said anxiously. I promised. Okay, I'll go in too. Gar finally nodded, and his figure flashed, and he also entered Xia Xingchen's personal space. In a flash, Xia Xingchen was the only one left in the starry sky. All members of the glory team entered Xia Xingchen's personal space. They were in the space and could not have any contact with the outside world. If Xia Xingchen died, then this space would also be destroyed, and all of them would be dead. Everyone in the glory team handed their lives to Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen felt that his shoulders were heavy, as if he was carrying a mountain. There was still some space in the personal space, and Xia Xingchen's heart moved, and he also put the bodies of the 2 tunnel worms he had just killed into the space. Friends, I will definitely save you. Xia Xingchen's eyes were firm, and he looked up at the direction where the tunnel worm Erachi was about to attack. Boom. Erachi's huge body appeared in front of the Qinglang Mecha, staring at Xia Xingchen with scowled eyes, and shouted angrily, Human, you killed my child. It was me. Xia Xingchen felt the mental pressure like a mountain, and his forehead was covered with sweat beads the size of soybeans. The star-level strongman was too terrifying. Just the mental pressure almost made Xia Xingchen's brain cells collapse. Fortunately, Xia Xingchen was protected by the source of faith, so he could withstand the mental impact of the tunnel worm Erach. Die. Erach roared, and the space in front of Xia Xingchen suddenly shattered like a mirror. Space attack. Xia Xingchen's face changed. It was the first time he encountered such a terrifying attack. Even the space could not withstand it and collapsed directly. However, Xia Xingchen was prepared. The Qinglang Mecha retreated, and his body disappeared out of thin air. He used teleportation, and flashed several times in a row, to escape Erach's attack range, hiding behind a meteorite, ready to move at an opportunity. Escape. Can you escape? Erachi snorted coldly, opened his mouth, and spewed out an acid bomb, bombarding the meteorite, melting it instantly, revealing the figure of the Qinglang Mecha. You found me so quickly? Xia Xingchen was startled, and suddenly remembered the information about the tunnel worms. The tunnel worms live in the endless abyss of stars, which is dark. Although they have eyes on their heads, their vision has long been degraded. The tunnel worm's way of perception is not vision or smell, but mental sensing. This sensing method is more accurate. As long as you are in the position of the tunnel worms, all hiding methods are meaningless. The tunnel worm's perception method seems to be somewhat similar to my omniscience field. Xia Xingchen had a flash of inspiration. Xia Xingchen's omniscience field has always been in an unfinished state, and he himself does not know what it will look like after the field is completed. From the tunnel worms, Xia Xingchen found some clues. Well, never mind, let's escape first. Faced with the crazy attack of the tunnel worms, Xia Xingchen could only drive the Qinglang mecha and flee in a panic. He had no time to think about unnecessary things. I will directly use the Qinglang mecha's jump device to bypass the giant net laid by the tunnel worms from the subspace. Xia Xingchen was ready to act according to his original plan. The Qinglang mecha has the ability to jump, and the giant net of the tunnel worms can't stop it at all. To be on the safe side, Xia Xingchen's omniscience field spread out, trying to pass through the giant net, determine the coordinates of the starry sky behind, and jump. However, Xia Xingchen's face suddenly changed. What? The tunnel worms are suppressing my mental power. I can't sense outside the net. Xia Xingchen was stunned. In this case, Xia Xingchen can choose to jump forcibly, but if the coordinates of the destination cannot be determined, the jump is likely to fail. At the least, it will not be able to escape the predation of the tunnel worms. At the worst, it will directly hit a celestial body, such as a star, and the machine will be destroyed, and people will die. Chapter 1382 Panorama. Cannot sense the outside world, cannot risk the jump. Xia Xingchen's mental power extended out like a tentacle, and the omniscience field spread outwards from the strong acid net, trying to penetrate it. However, the strong acid net was covered with a layer of tunnel worms' mental power, which bounced the omniscience field back. The mental power level gap is too big, cannot break through. Xia Xingchen felt impatient. On the other hand, the tunnel worm Erichi kept attacking the Qinglang mecha. In the acid, the Qinglang mecha tried its best to dodge, but it was inevitably sprinkled with a few drops of strong acid, and the external devouring star armor was instantly corroded, turned black, and lost its biological activity. No, the strength of the star-level strongman is too terrifying. I must find a way to escape. I'm responsible for more than just my life, and all the members of the glory team. Under extreme danger and great pressure, Xia Xingchen's mental power was highly concentrated, and the crystal pyramid in his brain slowly floated into the air, bursting with dazzling light. Buzz! A huge roar sounded in Xia Xingchen's brain. The omniscience field suddenly spread rapidly around, and then, it disappeared. Instead, in Xia Xingchen's consciousness, the outline of the whole world is still there, but the color is completely different, completely turning into dark green. Objects become completely transparent, and only thick green lines remain. This is. Xia Xingchen was surprised and happy. The unfinished omniscience domain finally changed at this time. The world is still the same world, but in Xia Xingchen's perception, the world is brand new. It turns out that Xia Xingchen observes the world through his own sensory organs, and observes himself as the main body. And now, the whole world is presented in Xia Xingchen's brain in the form of green lines. It's as if Xia Xingchen is looking down from a high place, looking down on the whole world from a god's perspective. As long as it is covered by Xia Xingchen's domain, everything is exposed. Energy, fluctuations, and mental power are all presented clearly in the form of data, allowing Xia Xingchen to have a deeper and more comprehensive understanding of the world. Xia Xingchen named this new domain ability Panorama. In the panorama, the mental power of the tunnel worm Erichi appears purple-red, covering this asteroid belt, like a red cloud. However, no matter how strong the mental power of the tunnel worm is, there are always loopholes. Under the panoramic view, Xia Xingchen easily found several weak points. His mental power immediately spread from the weak points and successfully crossed the strong acid net to the outside. The starry sky outside the strong acid net gradually became clear in Xia Xingchen's mind. Erichi didn't know that his mental power suppression had failed. He rushed over with awe, wanting to swallow Xia Xingchen in one bite. Facing the huge tunnel worm, Xia Xingchen raised the corners of his mouth, and a confident smile emerged. He said in a deep voice, "Coordinates are determined. Jump." Swish. The jump engine burst out huge energy. The Qinglang mecha tore through the space, and the figure disappeared instantly. The next moment, the Qinglang mecha had crossed the strong acid net, and was outside the asteroid belt. Call the captain. Call the captain. On the glory team spaceship, Ban, who stayed behind, also found something wrong. He used the communicator to call Captain Gal, but nothing happened. Just when Bang was desperate, the figure of the King Lang Mecha suddenly appeared in the starry sky and entered the spaceship. Swish. Ga, Debbie, Mark, Huali, Zuemo, and Aing were also in the cabin in an instant. The 6 people woke up, as if from a dream, looking at the familiar spaceship, with surprise on their faces. We are back. We really escaped. Successful. Dracula really succeeded. We escaped from the trap of the tunnel worm. All thanks to Dracula. Everyone was amazed, and their eyes fell on Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen was putting the King Lang Mecha into the portable space, and said seriously, now is not the time to celebrate. This is not a safe area. We leave here immediately. Ban, you go to control the spaceship. We leave quickly. Gar said hurriedly. Yes, sir. Ban immediately returned to the control panel, and a few seconds later, the spaceship engine was turned on at full power, turning into a silver light, and quickly fled from this dangerous asteroid belt. Roar. Just seconds after the Glory escaped, the giant pit worm chased out and roared angrily in the starry sky. Human. Despicable human. Weak human. I must kill you. However, the only answer was the Glory's gradually disappearing tail flame. In the Glory, everyone gathered in the lounge to drink fine wine, and their faces were filled with excitement after surviving a disaster. Ha ha ha, Ben, you don't know how dangerous this time. We almost wiped out the whole army and became food for the pitworms. Mark laughed and said. Dracula Debbie looked at Xia Xingchen with a charming face. This time, thanks to you. Ha ha ha, we underestimated Dracula. However, our team has one more strong man, which is worth celebrating. Gal stood up, raised his glass, and smiled. Come on, let's toast to Dracula together. Everyone stood up one by one, holding the wine glasses in their hands, colliding them, and the wine splashed. Cheers. Nothing is more exciting than escaping death. Xia Xingchen's face flushed slightly, and he also raised his glass. Cheers. Well, although we escaped successfully, this mission failed. Gar put down his glass and began to reflect on the gains and losses of this mission. Yes, our target is the eggs of the tunnel worm. I didn't expect that we had just sneaked into the asteroid belt and were discovered by the tunnel worm before we even found its nest. However, the opponent is a star level, so there is nothing we can do. Huoli sighed. Is there any punishment for mission failure? Xia Xingchen asked. Well, when accepting a mission, the Alliance will collect some points as a deposit. The deposit for a second level mission is 1000 points, which is equivalent to wasting 1000 points. Add to that the fuel loss of the spacecraft and the time cost of everyone wasting. We have lost a lot this time. Gar nodded and sighed. Now there are 2 choices. One is that we change another asteroid belt to find the nest of the tunnel worm. But this is like looking for a needle in a haystack. It will take more time and supplies, and it is very likely that we will still get nothing. The second choice is that we admit defeat and temporarily return to the Ascendant Generation spacecraft to rest. Go back and rest. It's only 1000 points, we can afford it. Yes, the important thing is that everyone is alive. Alive. There is hope. Everyone was not dejected, but very excited. Captain, we killed 2 tunnel worms. Can't we exchange them for some points? Xia Xingchen suddenly asked. Chapter 1383 Huge points. Yes, Dracula killed 2 tunnel worms. Everyone remembered it. Wait for me to check. Gar was slightly startled and hurriedly used the bracelet to check the task. A few seconds later, Gar's face changed. He took a breath and trembled. Found it. Level 3 task. Kill the tunnel worm and bring back the body. Level 3 task. Everyone was shocked, all stunned, and there was silence in the cabin. If the level 3 task is successfully completed, you can get at least 1 million points. Think about it, it's also true. Seizing the eggs of the tunnel worm is already a level 2 task. The difficulty of killing the tunnel worm is much more difficult than seizing the eggs. Moreover, it is actually facing a star level powerhouse. Even the top 3 teams in the Alliance will find it difficult to escape unscathed. The mortality rate must be more than 60%. It's a pity that we didn't bring back the body of the tunnel worm. Gar sighed. We missed this huge amount of points. Yes, we only care about escaping. How can we care about the body of the tunnel worm? The others also shook their heads. Everyone, I brought the 2 bodies back and put them in my personal space. Xia Xingchen laughed. What? You brought the bodies back? Everyone was disappointed at first, but when they heard Xia Xingchen's words, they were shocked at first, and then they all showed ecstasy. Killing a tunnel worm can get 1 million points. 2 tunnel worms means 2 million points. 2 million points. Since the establishment of the Glory team, all the task points accumulated have not been as much as 2 million. I'm rich. I'm rich. Mark rubbed his hands excitedly. 2 million. My god, there are 8 of us, and each of us can get more than 200,000 points. Debbie felt like she was dreaming. With 200,000 points, I can also enter the meditation room and meditate properly. Huli's eyes flashed, and his eyes were burning. Well, Gal pondered for a while and said, everyone, I have a suggestion. These 2 tunnel worms were killed by Dracula. If we divide it equally, it's not fair. I think it's better for each of us to get 100,000 points, and the rest belongs to Dracula. What do you think? Captain is right, this is fair. Well, 100,000 points for each of us is already a lot. The remaining 1 million points will all go to Dracula. He just needs to exchange for materials. Yes, that's what we should do. The other team members also nodded and agreed with Gal's opinion. Captain, this is not good. Xia Xingchen stood up quickly and shook his head. Why not? Gal's expression froze. I have always believed in fairness. The creed of the Glory team is also fairness. You killed the tunnel worm by yourself, and we almost didn't help. We are sorry to give you 100,000 points each. Originally, all these points should belong to you. Since we want fairness, all the points belong to you. Seeing that Gal's words were getting more and more outrageous, and what was even more exaggerated was that everyone else was nodding in agreement, Xia Xingchen hurriedly said, Captain, let's do as you say, don't say anything more. Okay. A smile appeared on Gal's face. The Glory spacecraft returned to the Ascendant Generation spacecraft. Gal led the team members to the mission center as soon as possible to exchange the bodies of the 2 tunnel worms for points. The Glory team, an unknown small team, actually completed a level 3 mission. Oh my god. Level 3 mission. Even the 3 major teams in the alliance may not be able to complete it successfully. 2 million points, how can it be so eye-catching? There were other team members in the mission center who were collecting mission rewards. When they heard that a team had completed the 3rd level mission, they all came over and talked about it. The 3rd level mission was indeed difficult. The members of the Glory team finally got their revenge. Everyone returned to the Glory team's exclusive room triumphantly. Each of them received 100,000 points, and Xia Xingchen received 1.3 million points. What can I exchange for 100,000 points? I have too many things I want. Debbie sat aside, grinning. Of course, go to the meditation room. With 100,000 points, I can meditate for a long time. I can finally get the hang of being a boss. Mark laughed, touching his bald head. I want to get a new mecha. My mecha weapons are a bit outdated. Zuema said. Well, I have a legendary skill that I've always wanted to exchange for, but I don't have the points. Huoli said with a smile. Everyone had their own plans, and the whole room was filled with a joyful atmosphere. Only Xia Xingchen was frowning, sitting aside, sighing. Ga walked over, sat next to Xia Xingchen, and asked curiously, Dracula, why are you unhappy? Xia Xingchen sighed. I just checked. If you want to exchange those 2 materials, you need 1 million points, just to upgrade to a core member. Ga nodded and said, yes, it does take a lot of points to upgrade to a core member of the Alliance. Xia Xingchen continued, if you want to exchange those 2 materials, at least 20 million points are needed, which is still a conservative estimate. Although our mission went smoothly this time, and earned a lot of points. However, the points I need are too many, far from enough. Want to hear my advice? Ga said with a smile. Well, Captain, you say. Xia Xingchen nodded. I have seen your strength. Although your mental power level is still relatively low, your combat power is extremely strong. It is too much of a waste for a strong man like you to stay in the Glory team. You can go on missions alone and earn points. Going on missions alone is more difficult, but more efficient. Many strong people in the Alliance are loners. Gar said. Captain, you want me to leave the team? Xia Xingchen was startled and looked at Gar in surprise. Gar laughed and patted Xia Xingchen on the shoulder. I worked so hard to dig you up. How can I bear to let you leave easily? I won't let you leave the team. You are still a member of the glory team. But if you want to earn points quickly, you can choose to complete the mission alone. Those big teams are also divided into many small teams to carry out their own missions. This is normal, I see. Xia Xingchen suddenly realized. Thank you for the captain's guidance. But what should I do with these points in my hand? Should I directly exchange them to upgrade to become a core member, or keep them? Only the money you spend is your own money. Gar pointed out, if you plan to carry out the mission alone, then you need to quickly improve your combat effectiveness. Entering the meditation room is the simplest and most effective way. Meditation room. Xia Xingchen's eyes flashed. So many people spoke so highly of the meditation room, which made him very curious. What secrets were hidden in this meditation room? Chapter 1384, Meditation Room for Ascendants. Well, thank you for the captain's advice. Xia Xingchen nodded and bowed to thank Gar. Gar's advice was indeed from the heart. So many people flocked to the meditation room of the Ascendant Alliance. Even the Angel of Light Michael mentioned in a few words that the reason why he risked great danger to stop Xia Xingchen outside the coffin star was because the Ascendant Alliance promised him huge benefits. One of the important conditions is that the meditation room on the Generation spaceship is open to the Angel of Light Michael, who is not a member of the Alliance. It can be seen that practicing in this meditation room can even improve the spiritual power level of a peerless strongman like Michael. As for what Gar said, he could let Xia Xingchen go on missions alone and earn points. He has no idea for the time being. The reason is simple. Xia Xingchen likes the atmosphere of the glory team very much. Performing tasks alone may make the speed of earning points faster. However, it must be very lonely. If there is no other way, Xia Xingchen is willing to go on missions with the glory team. The most urgent thing now is to practice in the meditation room. However, it seems that an appointment is required. Xia Xingchen frowned and looked at Gar. Haha, I made an appointment for you when you joined the team. Gar came over, smiled and patted Xia Xingchen on the shoulder, and said, calculate the time. It's just in time to go now. Thank you, brother Gar. You are thoughtful. Xia Xingchen was delighted and smiled. He was not familiar with the situation of the Alliance, and with Gar taking care of him, he avoided many unnecessary mistakes. But, big brother, Xia Xingchen asked, it should be enough to spend tens of thousands of points to practice in the meditation room. With so many points, should I upgrade the Alliance's level and become a core member? Well, ordinary members need 10,000 points to become elite members, but it takes 1 million points to become a core member. Core members have many privileges, such as enjoying a 20% discount in the Alliance Mall. There are also some areas on the Generation spaceship that are only open to higher level members. If you want to buy those two materials, you will have to become a core member sooner or later. But there is no rush now. When you have time, you can operate on the bracelet and exchange points directly. It only takes a few seconds. Very convenient, and you don't need to worry about such meaningless things. Gal nodded and roughly introduced the differences between members of different levels to Xia Xingchen. Yes, it's important to practice in the meditation room now. Xia Xingchen nodded and smiled, followed Gal behind him, and walked towards the area where the meditation room was. It is said that there are only 2 meditation rooms on the Ascender Generation spaceship. One meditation room is open to Alliance members below the core members, also known as the public meditation room. The other meditation room is open to senior core members and elders. Most of the middle and lower level members of the Alliance do not know where it is located on the spaceship. The public meditation room is located on the lower level of Area C. After a long passage, Xia Xingchen and Gar entered the waiting area of the meditation room. There are so many people. Xia Xingchen glanced at the waiting area. There were dozens of people sitting or standing in the waiting area. Everyone's face was anxious and happy, waiting to enter the meditation room. Xia Xingchen had learned from Gar that the public meditation room was divided into 10 small compartments, and 10 people could enter at the same time to meditate. The middle and lower level alliance members did not have many points, and few people could use the meditation room for more than 3 hours. Most people only used it for 1 or 2 hours. It was precisely because of this that, although there were dozens of people waiting, Xia Xingchen only had to wait for a few hours before it was his turn. After Xia Xingchen confirmed through the bracelet that his waiting time was 3 hours, he sat on the sofa in the rest area and waited silently. Ga came over with a bottle of wine and a glass in his hand, poured Xia Xingchen some, raised his glass and smiled. Waiting is also a kind of practice. Xia Xingchen picked up the wine and took a sip. Interstellar travel is long and boring. If you don't have the patience for a few hours, I'm afraid you would have been suffocated to death in the cabin. Ha ha ha, you're right. Ga laughed, but I really like the feeling of interstellar travel. The longer the better. Wandering alone in the starry sky, free and at will. This feeling is great. Yeah. Xia Xingchen nodded, drank the wine, and chatted with Ga about interesting things in the starry sky. Time passed quickly, and 3 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Xia Xingchen still felt unsatisfied, and the bracelet had already prompted that it would be his turn to enter the meditation room in 10 minutes. At this moment, there was a noise in the rest area, and everyone present looked towards the entrance passage. It's Iron and Blood, the second largest team in the alliance. The Iron and Blood people are here. They are not easy to mess with. Everyone be careful. The waiting alliance members all had strange expressions and talked a lot. Xia Xingchen looked towards the entrance curiously and saw a group of men in black and red uniforms walking towards them with a proud look. Iron and Blood, the second largest team in the alliance. The uniforms are black, representing iron, and red, representing blood. The black and red uniforms are handsome and eye-catching. There are more than 30 people in this group, and Xia Xingchen saw an acquaintance among them. Like Xia Xingchen, Guan Yu has a 3-star talent rating. Guan Yu wore an Iron and Blood uniform, shiny black long boots on his feet, and held his head high. Like his companions, he also looked arrogant. Guan Yu. Xia Xingchen wanted to ask about Guan Yu's recent situation, so he waved to him. After calling out 7 or 8 times, Guan Yu finally found Xia Xingchen. He explained to the people around him, and walked towards Xia Xingchen with a cold smile on his face. Who did I think it was? It turned out to be Dracula. And, the captain of that team. The captain of that team was obviously referring to Ga. When Ga heard this, although his face did not show it, his eyes narrowed slightly, and a cold light appeared in his eyes. Legendary mecha masters have strong mental power, and have the ability to remember everything they see. Of course, Guan Yu could not forget the names of the Glory Team and Ga. He obviously despised Ga, and looked down on him, and the Glory Team. Humph, you are an idiot. Ga snorted coldly. With his status and cultivation as the captain of the team, he naturally would not get angry with Guan Yu. It is not worth it to make enemies with iron and fire, because of a small matter. When Xia Xingchen heard Guan Yu's words, she turned around, and saw Ga's face was at hen, and she couldn't help frowning. Geniuses appreciate each other. Guan Yu, like Xia Xingchen, was rated 3 stars, so his talent must be extremely high. Originally, Xia Xingchen had a good impression of Guan Yu, thinking that he was unwilling to join the Glory Team, and wanted to challenge his own limits. He was an ambitious and promising man. However, Xia Xingchen now discovered that Guan Yu, like Zhang Yan, was very arrogant, and didn't know how to behave. Chapter 1385 Strict Hierarchy. Guan Yu, this is Ga, the captain of the Glory Team. You forgot so quickly. It seems that a big team like Iron and Fire has a lot of things to do. Xia Xingchen tried to smooth things over, easing the awkward atmosphere a little. Dracula, are you also going to the meditation room to practice? Guan Yu ignored Ga, and said to Xia Xingchen, well, I was lucky to go on a mission with the team this time, and I earned some points. It just so happens that my appointment time is today. Xia Xingchen said modestly. I advise you to do it another day. Guan Yu glanced at Xia Xingchen and said coldly, what do you mean? Xia Xingchen was stunned, with a look of surprise on his face. I mean, a talent like you is too much of a waste of talent in a small team. There is no future in a small team, so you should change jobs as soon as possible and come to a big team. I can help you introduce yourself to Iron and Fire. At least I can let you be a small captain or something. Guan Yu said slowly. Xia Xingchen's eyes flashed coldly, and he shook his head and said, I'm sorry, I really like the glory team. I have no interest in what you said. That can't be helped. Guan Yu shrugged his shoulders. I pointed out the Yangwan road to you, but you didn't take it, and insisted on taking the single plank bridge. After Guan Yu finished speaking, he turned around and left, returning to the members of the Iron and Blood team, talking to the people around him, pointing fingers at Xia Xingchen, vaguely mocking him for being an ambitious and ignorant of the times. This Guan Yu. Ga's body trembled slightly, his eyes were red, and he was obviously furious. Brother Ga, forget it. People with different ideals cannot work together. He takes his Yangwan road, and we take our single plank bridge. Let's see who can laugh last. Xia Xingchen persuaded from the side. What a fool. Ga shook his head again and again. You are indeed talented, but your emotional intelligence is too low. Do you think you are great to join the Iron and Blood? Back then, Ga didn't continue to speak, but from his tone, it was clear that he didn't even take the second team in the alliance, the Iron and Blood, seriously. Well, 10 minutes are almost up. I'm going to enter the meditation room to practice. Taking advantage of this great opportunity, I will break through the primary stage of Nebula and become the intermediate stage of Nebula. Xia Xingchen looked down at the time and said to Ga, come on. Ga took a breath, suppressed his anger, and patted Xia Xingchen on the shoulder. Huh? What's going on? Xia Xingchen glanced at the bracelet and saw that his waiting time had reached 60 seconds. However, the time was not shortened, but increased. 2 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours, 50 hours. The time jumped up quickly, and the waiting time jumped from 60 seconds to 50 hours. In the end, it didn't even show the specific time. What's going on? Xia Xingchen was stunned and looked confused. Why is my waiting time increasing? I'm the next one. Why is it 3 days later? What's going on? Not only Xia Xingchen, but other mecha masters waiting in the lounge couldn't help but exclaimed. Sure enough, someone cut in line. Gal's eyes flashed with coldness, looking at the direction of the Iron and Blood team, and said coldly, hey, it's the Iron and Blood people who cut in line. No need to think about it, it must be them. They cut in line. They have no manners at all. People from the big teams basically cut in line. They don't care about this little bit of points. Other mecha masters also found that someone cut in line, and they were all filled with righteous indignation, and glared in the direction of the Iron and Blood team. What are you glaring at? Believe it or not, I will dig your eyes out. A bunch of poor bastards. What do you mean by cutting in line? We are elite members of the Alliance. We don't need to queue. This is our privilege. What can we say to these low-class people like them? Everyone, get ready. We are about to enter the meditation room. The members of Iron and Fire are used to being arrogant and domineering. They are not ashamed of cutting in line, but proud of it. Brother, how can they still cut in line? Looking at the arrogant appearance of Iron and Fire, Xia Xingchen was furious. Why? Because I'm already an elite member of the Alliance. Guan Yu obviously heard what Xia Xingchen said and sneered from a distance. Not only me, but all of us who joined Iron and Fire are elite members. This is the benefit of a big team, which your small team cannot compare to. You just wait slowly in the back and wait until all of us finish meditating before entering the meditation room. Oh, no. I heard that the new members of the freelancers have also returned from their missions, and they must also cut in ahead of you. I'm afraid you won't be able to enter the meditation room for 10 days or half a month. Brother, is cutting in line a privilege for elite members? Xia Xingchen ignored Guan Yu and looked at Gal. Gal nodded helplessly, although the Alliance advocates freedom and equality, saying that every member of the Alliance is a brother or sister, and a family. But in fact, this is a place with strict hierarchy and full of privileges. Elite members are only one level higher than ordinary members, but they can cut in line and line up in front of ordinary members. This is the rule of the Alliance, and no one can change it. Freedom and equality? There is no freedom and equality in the universe. There is only the law of the jungle. Xia Xingchen sighed. The universe is vast. Perhaps there is a civilization that can achieve true freedom and equality, but it is definitely not human. The human civilization is destined to exist in the place where there are humans. There will be classes and inequality. I'm powerless to change this injustice. The only thing I can do is to become stronger. Xia Xingchen shook his head and immediately operated the bracelet, spending 1 million points to upgrade himself to a core member. Ding. A crisp sound. 1,300,000 points became 300,000. Xia Xingchen's alliance level also changed from an ordinary member to a core member. Congratulations, you have been promoted to a core member of the alliance. I'm the artificial intelligence Yeezy. Xia Xingchen noticed that the interface of his bracelet had also changed, and many new functions were opened. The most significant difference was that there was an additional female voice reminder sound, and there was a special artificial intelligence serving him. Really? Xia Xingchen was speechless for a while. It turned out that you get what you pay for. Spending 1 million points really brought a different experience. Easy, I need to enter the meditation room to practice. Xia Xingchen said to the artificial intelligence. Okay, master. I will arrange it for you immediately. Yeezy said. A few seconds later, Yeezy replied, Master, everything has been arranged for you. You can enter the meditation room immediately. On the other side, Guan Yu was also excited and ready to enter the meditation room. Ding. Your waiting time is 10 hours. The bracelet prompted. 10 hours? How is that possible? I'm an elite member. Guan Yu looked incredulous. At this moment, Xia Xingchen passed by Guan Yu and walked straight into the meditation room, leaving him with a deep back. I'm obviously ahead of this kid. Guan Yu was stunned and said angrily, check it out, what's going on? Sorry, the person in front of you is a distinguished core member. Please wait patiently. A cold voice came from the bracelet. Dracula. Core member? Guan Yu was pale and stood there stupidly. Chapter 1386 Illusion. Silence. The air in the rest area seemed to be frozen, very depressing, and everyone's face showed an expression of disbelief. Dracula is already a core member? If I remember correctly, he should be a new member who joined in the last batch. He was promoted to a core member so quickly? Which team did he join that is so well treated? Everyone's eyes were focused on Xia Xingchen's back. All of them were extremely surprised. Core member. Core member Dracula is already a core member. I'm just an elite member, but I mocked him in front of him. It's just like a jumping clown. Guan Yu felt cold all over, only his face was hot, as if it was burning. He was so ashamed that he wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. It's so embarrassing. 10,000 points can be promoted to an elite member. 1 million points can be promoted to a core member. The gap between elite members and core members is 100 times. Strange. Steven, an old member of Iron and Blood beside Guan Yu, frowned. The glory team is just a small team ranked at the bottom. How can there be a core member and a newcomer? As far as I know, even their captain, Gal, is just an elite member. Yes, Gal is an elite member like us. Someone next to him knew Gal and nodded to confirm. That's weird. The team members are core members, but the captain is an elite member? The team members are higher in rank than the captain? Steven shook his head and muttered, I can't figure it out. I really can't figure it out. The captain is an elite, and the team members are core members? Steven's words reminded Guan Yu. He frowned and thought about a possibility in his mind. I know. I'm afraid that the glory team gave all the accumulated points to Dracula. Use all the resources of the team to upgrade Dracula's level. Guan Yu speculated. That's 1 million points. All given to a newcomer? Is there such a good thing? Some people around shook their heads and felt incredible. That's right. According to common sense, it's impossible. Guan Yu whispered, what if? I'm just saying what if. This Dracula has a very high talent, a super talent that matches 1 million points. For example, he needs a technique, and he must upgrade his level to a core member before he can exchange it for learning. Everyone's face showed a look of realization. Guan Yu's speculation was the only explanation that sounded more reasonable. A super genius has appeared. The captain must be notified immediately. When Guan Yu joined Iron and Blood, the captain repeatedly emphasized to them that if there were extremely talented people, they must notify him immediately. Well, the captain happened to be on the spacecraft without a mission. Steven's expression was solemn, and he quickly used his bracelet to notify the captain of Iron and Blood, Hellas. In a wide cabin, An old man with white hair and beard sat cross-legged on a round wool carpet, meditating. He was extremely tall, wearing a white robe, and just sitting there was like a small mountain. The container beside him was emitting curling white smoke, and the extremely rare special spices were burning inside. This old man is the captain of the second-ranked team in the alliance, known as the Giant Hellas. Beep beep. The bracelet beeps. Hellas connected the signal, and Steven and Guan Yu appeared in front of him. Well, it's two new guys. Come on, if you have anything to ask me, come to me. Hellas asked lightly. Captain, it's like this. I may have discovered a super genius. Someone who meets your requirements. After Guan Yu saluted solemnly, he told what happened just now. Hellas listened quietly without interrupting Guan Yu. He snorted coldly when Guan Yu finished speaking. So it was your speculation. Humph, my requirements are very demanding and difficult to achieve. Of course. Guan Yu said hurriedly. Okay. This is not a big deal. In the future, if it's such a small matter, don't bother me. Hellas cut off the signal, leaving Guan Yu and Steven looking at each other. Captain doesn't believe it. Steven shrugged helplessly. I was reckless. Everything is just my speculation. A big man like the captain is busy with all kinds of things and really doesn't have the energy to take care of these trivial matters. Guan Yu's face turned pale and blue, and he smiled awkwardly. In the cabin, Hellas cut off the signal and sneered to himself. Awakeners, how can they be so easy to find? However, I know Gal from the Glory team. He is not a fool. It is indeed a bit strange to spend 1 million points on a newcomer. Hellas thought for a while, opened the bracelet, and ordered the artificial intelligence, my Ozzy, help me arrange it. I want to see the training video of the newcomer named Dracula. Sir, you need to pay 100,000 points. Are you sure? A cold female voice came from the bracelet. What nonsense. It's just 100,000 points. Hellas waved his hand impatiently and paid the points immediately. Swish. A picture appeared in front of Hellas. The protagonist of the picture was Xia Xingchen, who was standing on a reef in the middle of the sea. Xia Xingchen entered the meditation room. This is a small cabin of less than 40 square meters. It is pitch black inside, without a single light. It's so dark. Xia Xingchen's mental power quietly spread, covering the entire room, confirming that this is an empty room. The walls of the meditation room seem to be made of special materials that can isolate mental power and prevent it from penetrating. Xia Xingchen walked to the center of the meditation room, sat cross-legged, and suddenly smelled a strange fragrance. This smell Xia Xingchen felt dizzy and fainted. When he opened his eyes, Xia Xingchen found himself standing on a reef in the middle of the sea. Boom boom boom. The Black Sea roared, and huge waves tens of meters high surged towards Xia Xingchen. This is virtual space. Xia Xingchen was stunned for a moment, and soon caught the subtle sense of disharmony in the space. This is a virtual space. Or, it is an illusion. It is similar to the virtual space that Roger set up on the Gold and Silver Star, but it is much more sophisticated and has very few flaws. If it were any other legend, he might be panicked and not know where he was for a while. However, Xia Xingchen soon realized that he was in an illusion. Facing the huge waves, he was not panicked at all. Break. Xia Xingchen shouted, and his mental power surged out. The huge waves rushing towards him were instantly shattered, turning into countless water splashes, splashing everywhere. Using virtual space and arranging illusions to improve meditation efficiency? It's too old-fashioned. Xia Xingchen smiled coldly. He did not feel the specialness of the meditation room. This kind of virtual space at the technological level can be simulated by the Coffin Star and the Star Domain Arc, and it is even more real. Can I really improve my mental power quickly here? Xia Xingchen was full of doubts. Chapter 1387 The Fate of the Enemy. Boom. After the huge waves were smashed by Xia Xingchen's mental power, the entire Black Sea also became fragmented. Xia Xingchen's eyes turned, and he found himself in a vast sea of stars, with a huge meteorite crashing towards him. Oh. It's a continuous illusion. Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows, and found that this illusion was more difficult than the previous one. Suddenly, Xia Xingchen understood that this meditation room was like Roger's dimensional cube, composed of one-dimensional world after another, and each world was more difficult than the other. Of course, there are also differences. The world of the dimensional cube is real, and is a microcosm of a certain dimensional space. The dimensional cube mainly tests combat effectiveness, and the improvement in mental power is relatively small. The illusion world of the Ascendant Alliance meditation room is all illusion. The stronger the mental power, the longer you can persist in the illusion. Only mental power is tested here, and it has nothing to do with the performance of the mecha. In addition to the strength of the mecha, the strength of human beings is also very important. The higher the strength, the stronger the mecha that can be driven. And whether one is strong or not is related to the heart. Only with the heart of a fearless strong man can one freely venture into this vast and boundless sea of stars. Xia Xingchen looked at the meteorite coming towards him from afar, and felt something in his heart. What I yearn for is true freedom. No one can stop me. My heart is sharp and breaks through the sky. Xia Xingchen's eyes were cold, and a silver spiral spear appeared in his hand, turning into a rotating stream of light, sprinting towards the falling meteorite. Xia Xingchen has overcome countless difficulties along the way with his indomitable spirit. There is a way to overcome any problem. Any puzzle will find an answer one day. As long as you don't give up and work hard, you will be able to climb to the top one day. Xia Xingchen's heart is like a spiral drill, constantly breaking through one illusion after another. Shiny and Star, Military Academy. In the huge lecture hall, a group of people wearing military green uniforms were listening to the class attentively. Xia Xingchen was one of them. Student days? It is indeed worth remembering. However, this illusion also wants to affect me. Let me sink and get lost. Break it for me. Xia Xingchen's mental power was shaken, and a vast spiritual energy rushed out, and the illusion was immediately shattered. Shiny and Star, the experience of the Imperial Military Academy, is the most precious wealth of Xia Xingchen's life. In the military academy, Xia Xingchen made friends and gained love. Xia Xingchen has dreamed of returning to the school days more than once, and it is unforgettable, and sighing when he wakes up. However, this does not mean that Xia Xingchen will indulge in the memories of the past. Although the past is beautiful, the future is also worth looking forward to. Xia Xingchen's life creed is 4 words: forge ahead. Let the past go, and the beautiful memories are treasured in the bottom of my heart. Cherish the present, cherish the people in front of you. Keep working hard. Keep fighting, and create a better future for yourself. This is the right way. Wow. The scenery in front of me changes again. Xia Xingchen stood in the ice and snow. This was Siberia. In the distance was the golden palace of Emperor Nicholas the Great. Xia Xingchen. Android descended from the sky in the golden mecha son of the fiery sun, his face full of ferociousness, and he shouted, "Is it Android this time? This illusion is really interesting." A smile appeared on the corners of Xia Xingchen's lips, and he looked up and shouted at Andri, "If I kill you once, I will definitely kill you a second time. Come on, my nemesis." Swish. The pure mental power condensed into a mecha, which was the Black Revenge Knight that Xia Xingchen had used back then. Xia Xingchen jumped up and entered the mecha. Boom. The Black Revenge Knight and the Golden Sun of the Fiery Sun collided with each other, and an astonishing energy fluctuation erupted. At that time, in an asteroid belt in the Siberian starfield, Xia Xingchen drove the Revenge Knight mecha alone to fight against the elite mecha regiment of the Northern Empire, the Snow Demon Knights, in order to cover the Evil Thought spacecraft, to escape through the wormhole. Finally, he had a head-on collision with Andre, who was driving the Son of the Sun. Whether it was the level of mental power or the performance of the mecha, Xia Xingchen was not Andre's opponent. The result of that battle was that Xia Xingchen was defeated miserably. Xia Xingchen even blew himself up and died with Andre. If it weren't for the spiritual energy bursting out from the source of faith to protect Xia Xingchen, then in that battle, Xia Xingchen would have been buried in the sea of stars. Victory is victory, defeat is defeat. However, it must be admitted that, while Xia Xingchen became Andre's inner demon, Andre also became Xia Xingchen's inner demon. This is the fate of the old enemy. But, this time I won. Xia Xingchen drove the tattered Revenge Knight, his face covered with blood, looking down at the scattered wreckage of the Son of the Sun mecha on the snow, and Andre's body engulfed by flames in the broken cockpit, panting. The illusion changed again in a blink of an eye. Xia Xingchen had already passed through 10 illusions in a row. The difficulty of the illusions behind was getting higher and higher. Xia Xingchen didn't know that a pair of eyes were spying on her. In the exclusive room of the Iron and Blood team, Alice sat cross-legged, looking at the scene in front of him. Xia Xingchen was fighting in the illusion. Illusions are different from the world of the dimensional cube. These illusions are all changed from Xia Xingchen's past experiences and are absolutely private. Peeping into the illusion is equivalent to peeping into Xia Xingchen's heart. This is an extremely immoral behavior. Hellas watched with relish and exclaimed in a low voice, "I didn't expect this nebula level little guy to have such rich experience. And he passed the 10th level the first time he entered the meditation illusion? It's really not easy. Although he may not be an awakener, it's worth paying attention to." Hellas retracted his gaze and ordered the artificial intelligence in the bracelet, "Myozi, how many points do you need to retrieve all the information of this Dracula?" His information is encrypted by the elders. The points required are at least 1 million. Myozi replied. 1 million. Hellas couldn't help but take a breath, and a look of astonishment appeared in his eyes. Although Hellas is the captain of the second team of the Alliance, his points did not fall from the sky for nothing. 1 million points is enough to make Hellas feel painful. However, since it is encrypted by the elders, it means that his talent is high enough, and he is valued by a certain elder and carefully cultivated. He is very likely to be an awakener. 1 million points for exchange. Hellas thought for a while, before gritting his teeth, and exchanging all the information of Xia Xingchen. After a few seconds, Xia Xingchen's detailed information appeared in front of Hellas. Sure enough, Dracula is just an alias. The real name is Xia Xingchen. This kid is really an extraordinary little guy. Hellas saw Xia Xingchen's resume. It took only a dozen years for him to grow from a small miner on Manastar to a legend. He couldn't help but take a breath. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1388. My heart is sharp, breaking through the sky. I'm old. I have been in the Ascendant Alliance for decades, and have been carrying out missions in the Infinite Star Abyss. I didn't expect that the Galactic Empire would have such a powerful younger generation. The young are really formidable. Hellas looked astonished, staring at the screen, watching Xia Xingchen struggle in the illusion. A moment. Break through the 12th illusion? Shock appeared in Hellas's eyes, and his huge body stood up suddenly. The first time I entered the meditation room, I actually broke through the 12th illusion. The Alliance meditation room, composed of illusions, is not only a place for cultivation, but also a place for trials. Not to mention the first time entering the meditation room. Even those who often go in and out of the meditation room rarely pass through the 12 illusions. Although his mental power level is low, his mental strength is no less than that of a star-level warrior. Hellas' eyes were full of shock, and he said in a deep voice, "In the meditation illusion, a low mental power level is a disadvantage. However, his mental strength makes up for the shortcomings, and his amazing willpower. It's almost the 13th illusion." Hellas's face showed a hint of tension. The 13th illusion is the limit of the planetary level. In the planetary level, few people can pass this illusion. Xia Xingchen is just a little guy at the primary level of the nebula. It is impossible for him to pass this illusion. The 13th illusion is a starry battlefield. The starry sky is full of burning warships and mecha wreckage, and not far away is the Shinean star, where the flames of war are flying. Countless mechas continue to break through the atmosphere, fly into the universe, and form a battle formation to stop Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen drives the Qinglang mecha, and behind him is a huge starship 10,000 meters long, the Star Domain Arc. He faces thousands of troops alone. His eyes are cold, his eyes are sharp, and he is full of murderous aura. Boom. A few seconds later, the main guns of the Empire's battleships fired in unison, and the energy pressure of the laser beams directly enveloped Xia Xingchen completely. Xia Xingchen only felt that an asteroid was bombarding his consciousness. The difficulty of this illusion is even more terrifying. The energy impact is like a substance, sweeping the Qinglang mecha into the energy torrent. Xia Xingchen felt dizzy, his eyes were black, and his brain seemed to be torn apart. My heart is sharp, breaking through the sky. Xia Xingchen's subconscious layer roared, and the mental energy that was about to collapse condensed together in an instant, and his brain suddenly became clear. Boom. After all, this world is an illusion, not reality. If it were the real world, Xia Xingchen would face the Empire's starship army. No matter how strong he was, he would only have a dead end. In the illusion world, if the willpower is strong enough and the mental power is strong, it is possible to reverse and turn the impossible into possible. A huge spiral drill head condensed in Xia Xingchen's hand Caishan. Boom. The Caishan drill head rotated and bombarded out, tearing the universe apart, and a hideous crack appeared. Rumble. Then, the entire starry sky began to shatter, the environment collapsed. Xia Xingchen returned to the dark meditation room panting. These illusions are too difficult. Rather than training, they are more like tests. Why don't I feel that my mental power has improved? Xia Xingchen's forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat, and the suspicion in his heart became stronger and stronger. He felt more and more that something was wrong. Iron and Blood Team Room. Captain Hellis's face showed astonishment. What a great young man. I really underestimated him. No wonder this guy Gal is willing to spend a huge price and use all the resources of the entire team to train him. Xia Xingchen is definitely a promising talent. His future is limitless, and he will become one of the top few people in the human race. The most important thing is that he is very likely to be the Awakener specially found by the Elders. His mental power is too strong, and he is young, with infinite talent. He is the best candidate for the Awakener. Being invited by the Elders of the Alliance to join the Alliance means that there is a possibility of becoming an Awakener. The Awakened One. He must be the Awakened One. We must win him over. Hellis' throat was dry, and he swallowed his saliva. His eyes were red, and he kept muttering, the Awakened One. If we can't win him over, we can only get rid of him before he wakes up. If we don't get rid of him, there will be endless troubles. Hellis made up his mind, stood up, put on the black and red uniform of Iron and Blood on the ship, pushed the door, and walked out of the room, and walked towards the meditation room. Things are urgent. He must talk to Xia Xingchen in person. The 14th illusion. Xia Xingchen is on a planet, fighting with an army of robots. The army of robots is endless, and has vast energy. Behind the army, there is a celestial being called Mechanical Khan. Boom. The main gun of the Mechanical Khan bombarded, and directly blasted the King Lang mecha into pieces. Xia Xingchen's consciousness also collapsed. The 14th illusion. Failure. No matter how strong Xia Xingchen's mental power is, and how firm his will is, it is not endless. The difficulty of the illusion continues to increase, and Xia Xingchen will be defeated sooner or later. Being defeated in the 14th illusion has surpassed most people. Xia Xingchen was unconscious in the meditation room. TSK, 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 TSK. Xia Xingchen didn't know that after he fainted, many strange sounds were heard around the dark meditation room. There were hundreds of pairs of green eyes behind the wall, quietly watching him. After an unknown period of coma, Xia Xingchen woke up. He stood up and found that the door of the meditation room had been opened. This meditation is over. Please leave the room. A cold electronic reminder sounded in the room. Xia Xingchen clenched his hands, feeling a strange sense of power in his body, and walked out of the meditation room in a daze. How is Dracula? Gal was waiting at the door, looking anxious. You have been meditating for a long time this time, longer than me. My mental power. Xia Xingchen closed his eyes and felt the changes in his body. The level of mental power has indeed improved a lot, from the initial stage of Nebula to the intermediate stage of Nebula. I have indeed improved. But why? Xia Xingchen looked confused. I only remember that I kept going through one illusion after another in meditation. Of course it is in the illusion that your mental power is tempered, so it has improved. It has actually improved by one level. Amazing. Ga laughed and was happy for Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen nodded slightly. Although Ga's words made sense, he felt something strange in his heart. This meditation room. Xia Xingchen turned his head and stared at the dark meditation room, stunned for a long time. Coughed Dracula. Guan Yu walked forward, coughed dryly, and said to Xia Xingchen, our captain wants to see you. The captain of Iron and Blood wants to see me? Xia Xingchen was stunned and surprised. Chapter 1389, Winning Over and Threatening. Yes, our captain asked you to come over, saying that there is something important to discuss. Guan Yu spoke in a very polite tone. After all, Alice had made it very clear that he wanted him to invite Xia Xingchen over. Brother Ga. Although Xia Xingchen didn't know what the captain of Iron and Blood wanted to talk to him about, he could guess that it was probably to win him over, so he turned around and asked Ga's opinion. Alice? Ga frowned slightly. Alice is a person. I don't have a deep friendship with him. However, he is the captain of the 3 major teams of the alliance after all, so you'd better give him some face. More friends mean more roads, more enemies mean more walls. You are very smart and should know what to do. Yeah. Xia Xingchen nodded, turned to Guan Yu and said, lead the way. The Ascendant Generation spaceship. Upper floor of Area A, Western Restaurant. Guan Yu took Xia Xingchen to the door of the restaurant, but was stopped by the guard at the door. Sorry, no one below the core members are allowed to enter this area. The guard said to Guan Yu. Oh. Guan Yu looked embarrassed, stepped aside, and said to Xia Xingchen, please come in. The captain is waiting for you in the restaurant. Xia Xingchen nodded and walked into the restaurant. Jazz music echoed in the restaurant. The space was small, but the furnishings were very exquisite. The entire restaurant was empty, with only a tall old man sitting at one end of the long table, wearing a black and red uniform, waving at Xia Xingchen, motioning him to come over. Xia Xingchen walked over and sat down at the other end of the table, looking at the old man with white hair and beard from a distance. He should be the captain of the Iron and Blood team, Alice. Alice exuded a strong mental fluctuation. He was a powerful star-level strongman, and his strength should be comparable to Michael and Kao Kang. Are you looking for me? Xia Xingchen smiled and nodded to the old man. Yes, Xia Xingchen. Alice smiled, stared at Xia Xingchen, and said lightly, have you investigated me? Xia Xingchen heard his real name. His body trembled slightly, and looked at Alice in surprise. Xia Xingchen didn't think that his identity could be concealed forever. However, he had never met Alice before, and it was obvious that he had investigated him privately. It was just that he didn't know how much he knew about him. Yes, I investigated you. You don't need to be surprised, because I value you. I know you much more than you think. I know your experience, your talent, and your value. Alice stretched out his hands and said with a smile, come on, join my team. I will give you the best resources. 1,000 times, 10,000 times more than what Bigger gave you. Are you inviting me? Xia Xingchen folded his arms, expressionless, staring at Alice indifferently. Yes, I'm inviting you. Alice stood up, put his hands on the table, and looked down at Xia Xingchen. Alice was well versed in negotiation skills, and knew that making such a strong move could intimidate some young men who were just starting out. However, he still underestimated Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen still had a faint smile on his face, and even picked up the silver knife and fork prepared on the table, looking at it seriously, but did not answer Alice. Are you asking for a higher price? Alice took a breath. He saw that Xia Xingchen was trying to find out his bottom line. 5 million points. If you join Iron and Blood, you will get 5 million points as compensation immediately. Moreover, you can become a squad leader, in charge of 20 powerful legendary mecha masters. Xia Xingchen still did not respond. 10 million. Alice gritted his teeth and offered a higher stakes. Deputy Captain. You can become one of the vice captains of Iron and Blood, and your status will be only lower than mine. This is already my bottom line. I can't give it any more. 10 million points is not a small amount. So what? Xia Xingchen finally raised his head and stared at Alice. So what? Alice was stunned. So, you can investigate me without my permission? Snoop into my privacy? Xia Xingchen's face was cold. This? Alice was silent for a moment. Alice was indeed wrong in this matter. If Xia Xingchen knew that Alice had spied on his experience fighting in the illusion, he would be furious. Let me be frank. I can't leave the glory team. No matter how high the stakes are, I won't change jobs. As for your snooping into my privacy, I'm not a petty person. Just pretend it never happened. That's it, Captain Alice. I'm leaving. Xia Xingchen didn't want to say anything more to Hellas, and he didn't want to have any intersection with the Iron and Blood team in the future. The two should go their own way, and it's best if they don't interfere with each other. After expressing his attitude, Xia Xingchen stood up and prepared to leave the Western restaurant. Swish. A big hand was placed on Xia Xingchen's shoulder, and the huge palm conveyed the power that could crush rocks, pinching Xia Xingchen's shoulder. HMM. Xia Xingchen had to put up a mental barrier on his shoulders to resist the huge force. He turned around and saw Halis' angry face. He sneered, "Captain Halis, what do you mean?" Halis grinned. "Xia Xingchen, you don't think that this matter is over, right?" Xia Xingchen took a breath and said in a deep voice, "What? I tell you, you must join my team. Otherwise, don't blame me for doing whatever I want. I think you don't want to see the members of the Glory team get into trouble." Halis said, "Are you threatening me?" Xia Xingchen was stunned. He didn't expect Halis to be so direct and shameless. "Yes, I'm threatening you. If you don't join Iron and Blood, I don't mind destroying the Glory team with you. Don't doubt it, I have the ability." Halis' smile was not as amiable as an old man, but full of cunning and viciousness. "I don't believe you dare to do it on the Generation spaceship. The Alliance has its own rules." Xia Xingchen was neither humble nor arrogant, and was not threatened by Halis. "Of course, I won't do it on the spaceship. But the Glory team always has to go out on missions. We can't be sure if we run into any accidents and all the members die in the Starry Sea. The Alliance's missions are very dangerous, and it's common to encounter danger." Halis continued to threaten, very bluntly. "You." Xia Xingchen's face flushed, and veins popped on his forehead. Xia Xingchen hadn't been threatened so directly in a long time. This feeling made him very uncomfortable. But for a moment he was helpless. "I've said everything. Go back and think about it." Seeing that Xia Xingchen seemed to be wavering, Halis stopped forcing her, loosened her hand, turned back to the dining table, and enjoyed the food by himself. Chapter 1390 Leaving Alone. Exclusive room for the Glory team. Xia Xingchen's face was livid, and he entered Gal's single cabin alone. "Dracula, you're back." Gal was resting his eyes on the bed, and when he saw Xia Xingchen coming in, he suddenly jumped up and asked, "Brother Gal?" Xia Xingchen took a breath, raised his head, and had a resolute look on his face. "Brother, I have a few things to tell you." Gal was slightly startled, a little surprised. "Go ahead." "First of all, my real name is not Dracula," Xia Xingchen said in a deep voice. "Haha, it's just a pseudonym. Joining the Ascendant Alliance means abandoning the past. No matter how outstanding you were in the outside world before, or how big a person you were, you will have a brand new beginning after entering the Alliance. In fact, my name is not Gal, it's just a code name. You and I are the same, with an unknown past and our own secrets. Don't worry, no one in the Glory team will pry into your privacy." Gal laughed, letting Xia Xingchen feel at ease. "Thank you, brother." Xia Xingchen breathed a sigh of relief, and a warm current surged in his heart. This is also the reason why he likes the Glory team. The members of the Glory team, like Ga, know how to respect others. On the other hand, the captain of Iron and Blood, Hellas, enjoys snooping into other people's privacy and is shameless. "But I still have to tell you my real name. My name is Xia Xingchen." Xia Xingchen whispered. "Xia Xingchen?" Ga was stunned when he heard the name. The expression on his face showed dullness, which slowly turned into shock. His eyes were wide open and stared at Xia Xingchen. After a few seconds, he even jumped up and screamed, "Xingchen how? Xia Xingchen, you are really him." Xia Xingchen nodded gently and admitted his identity. He originally planned to keep a low profile, but in the Promoter Alliance, as long as there are points, anyone's information can be sold. Xia Xingchen's privacy is like a commodity, being bought by people. This feeling makes him very uncomfortable. Of course, Xia Xingchen has nothing to be ashamed of. It's just that his identity, since it has been known to others, there is no need to continue hiding it. Although the Ascender Alliance's generational spaceship has been sailing in the boundless abyss of stars, it does not mean that this spaceship is isolated from the world. Any news of the Empire, especially the emergence of a genius on a certain planet, will be known to the top leaders of the Alliance immediately. This means that the Ascender Alliance, an ancient and powerful organization, has an intelligence network that is no less than that of the Empire's intelligence department. Xia Xingchen's reputation is so great that he can be said to be a household name in the Galactic Empire. Xia has also heard about the experience of this legendary young man and knows how heavy the responsibility and burden he bears. Xia Xingchen, so you are Xia Xingchen. In fact, I have also guessed your identity. I just didn't expect that you would be him. A big shot, an absolute big shot. Xia couldn't help but exclaimed repeatedly, with surprise on his face and his eyes shining. Brother, my identity is not worth mentioning. But my enemies are all over the starry sea, and each one is more terrifying than the other. So, I hope you can understand the difficulties of concealing my identity. Xia Xingchen said in a deep voice. I understand. Of course I understand. Gal nodded, and suddenly frowned. You are revealing your identity to me now? Is there any change on your side? Gal looked at Xia Xingchen in surprise, as if he understood something. After a long time, he sighed. I understand. You want to leave. The chips that Hellas gave you are enough to make you excited. It doesn't matter. A wise bird chooses a tree to roost in. Iron and Blood is a big team, and will give you more space. Let's go. I don't blame you. As for the others, I will talk to them. After all, we used to fight side by side. We are comrades in arms, and brothers. Gal misunderstood, thinking that Xia Xingchen was going to leave Glory and join the Iron and Blood team, and a hint of disappointment appeared on his face. Brother. Anger emerged on Xia Xingchen's face, and the veins on his temples bulged slightly. Hellas did promise me huge benefits, and wanted to recruit me to join Iron and Blood. However, I don't like Helix as a person. Moreover, I'm definitely not a treacherous person. Since I have joined the Glory team, I will not leave easily. Xia looked up and said in surprise, really? Xia Xingchen nodded, but Helix threatened me. He said that, if I continue to stay in the Glory team, it will be disadvantageous to everyone. This. Xia's face turned pale in an instant, and he was silent for a long time, then slowly sat back on the bed. Hellas has always kept his word. He is indeed a ruthless and ruthless hero. With the current strength of the Glory team, there is no way to compete with Iron and Blood. Brother, I won't let everyone be implicated because of me. Therefore, I plan to leave temporarily and carry out the mission alone. Xia Xingchen said in a deep voice. This is also the only way. No. This is a different time. Hellas will never give up. Even if he doesn't deal with the Glory team, he will bring people to deal with you. You are equivalent to carrying such a huge pressure on your own. I don't agree. It's too dangerous. When there is pressure, we all bear it together. When there is danger, we face it together. Since you call me brother, we are brothers. Xia is a man who truly values friendship. He shouted loudly without thinking. I have already taken enough pressure. Too many lies don't itch, but a little less is not bad. Xia Xingchen laughed at himself and continued to say to Xia, brother, you don't have to worry about me. I naturally have ways to save my life. The Galactic Empire has been wanted for so long, but they can't catch me, right? Moreover, I have made up my mind. No matter what you say, it can't change my decision. This. Xia was silent. He had heard about Xia Xingchen's experience. In many starfields such as the Infinite Star Abyss, Xia Xingchen had a nickname called Son of Miracle. The implication was that Xia Xingchen was a young man who could bring miracles and was favored by the goddess of miracles. Moreover, a big man like Xia Xingchen has an extremely firm will. Once he makes up his mind, no one can shake him. In the end, Xia could only sigh and nod silently, tacitly agreeing that Xia Xingchen would leave the team alone to carry out the mission. Brother, please apologize to the other brothers for me. Tell the outside world that I left the Glory team and left alone. Xia Xingchen said softly. You don't have to say sorry. We should say sorry. The Glory team is too weak to protect you. Xia clenched his hands tightly, and his body trembled slightly because of anger. Brother, goodbye. Xia Xingchen said goodbye to Xia, with tears in his eyes, and left the Glory team's room alone. Driving the Qinglang Mecha, flew out of the Generation spaceship, and disappeared in the distant starry sky in a moment. Chapter 1391 The Awakener. Xia Xingchen left alone. The Iron and Fire team was well informed. At the first moment, the deputy captain Morgan hurried into the captain's room and informed Hellas of the news. Escaped. Hellas stood up suddenly with an expression of disbelief on his face. He already knew that Xia Xingchen was in his pocket. Under his threat, he could only compromise and join his team. He didn't expect that there would be such a variable. What a cowardly and cunning man. A smile appeared on the corner of Hellas's mouth. Too hard to break. The huge galactic empire can't catch him. I should have thought that he is extremely good at escaping. Captain, what should we do next? Morgan asked. Notify all team members to collect clues about Xia Xingchen with all their strength. He can't leave the infinite star abyss in a short time. Once he is found, capture him immediately. If he dares to resist, you can kill him directly. Hellas gave the order without thinking. Capture. Kill. Morgan was stunned and said in confusion, Captain, the Alliance prohibits members from killing each other. If someone finds evidence that we are hunting him down, it may be detrimental to the development prospects of the team. Since he has already escaped, it means that he has given up. Why mobilize so many troops? Because he is very likely to be an awakened person. Hellas's voice was cold, and when he said the word awakened, his tone was even more icy. Awakened. Morgan took a breath and saluted immediately. I understand. I will immediately pass on your order. Before other teams intervene, do your best to hunt down Xia Xingchen. The Kinglang Mecha flew alone in the dark and boundless abyss. It was pitch black all around, without even a little starlight. Xia Xingchen looked through the front window of the cockpit, looking at the suffocating darkness, and knew that he was already in the abyss. Escape again. Xia Xingchen's mouth corners raised, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. He felt like a floating duckweed with no fixed place to stay, drifting in the boundless sea of stars, unable to settle down in one place. Maybe this is the fate of an interstellar wanderer. Xia Xingchen laughed at himself, closed his eyes, immersed in meditation, and realized the changes in his mental power after entering the intermediate stage of the nebula. The biggest difference between the intermediate stage of the nebula and the initial stage of the nebula is that Xia Xingchen's omniscience field is more complete and has evolved into a panoramic view. The panoramic view brings not only a change in perspective, but also an improvement in the ability to control the overall situation of the surrounding space. After mastering the panoramic view, Xia Xingchen is one step closer to true omniscience. Maintaining the panoramic view for a long time consumes extremely amazing mental power. At the initial stage of the nebula, even Xia Xingchen couldn't bear it. After the intermediate stage of the nebula, Xia Xingchen's mental power level increased, and the total amount and strength of mental power increased, which was more than enough to keep the panorama open for a long time. The meditation room of the Ascendant Alliance really has some tricks. Xia Xingchen knew that, after entering the legend, it was extremely difficult to increase the mental power by one level. Even though Xia Xingchen was already standing on the threshold of the initial to intermediate stage of the nebula, he could break through safely and stabilize his mental power level by entering the meditation room once. There must be some unknown mystery hidden in this meditation room. Not only that meditation room, but the entire Ascendant Alliance gives me a very strange feeling. Xia Xingchen muttered in his heart. In the universe, all human organizations have their own purposes, most of which are for fame and fortune. The Ascendant Alliance, with its powerful strength, has been cruising in the boundless abyss of stars, and is even unknown. The top leaders of the Alliance are also constantly issuing tasks, most of which are hunting Zerg. For example, the last mission of the Glory team was seize the eggs of the tunnel worm. Xia Xingchen did not understand why the Alliance issued such a task. Later, the Alliance recovered the bodies of 2 tunnel worms and gave a large number of points as rewards, which made Xia Xingchen even more puzzled. What is the use of the corpses of tunnel worms for the Alliance? Research? Raw materials for making star skeleton armor? Or other uses? The seeds of doubt have been buried in Xia Xingchen's heart. However, Xia Xingchen knew very little about the Ascendant Alliance and could not get enough information to solve the doubts in his heart. The most urgent task now is to complete the mission, earn a lot of points, and exchange for basalt ice crystals and white tiger Zhengjin. Make basalt mechas and white tiger mechas. Xia Xingchen learned from the Orcs High Priest that the 4 sacred beast mechas were not as simple as they seemed on the surface. Only after collecting the 4 sacred beast mechas, there is a shocking secret waiting for Xia Xingchen. Well, although it's lonely, it's also free. I go to complete the mission alone, earn points, and improve my strength. It should be much more efficient. Xia Xingchen nodded and opened the bracelet. Let's see if there are any tasks suitable for me. In the Ascendant Alliance, ordinary members cannot perform tasks alone, and must perform tasks with the team. Although elite members are qualified to perform tasks, most of the elite members will not leave the team. Only the core members, many strong ones are lone rangers, used to being alone, and like to perform tasks alone. Single player missions are designed for these lone rangers. These tasks vary in difficulty and type. Some tasks are extremely difficult, time consuming, and profitable. Some tasks are simple, just exploring a certain star area. Although there are potential dangers, they are much simpler overall, and of course the rewards are much less. Of course, most lone rangers are also affiliated with a team. Or, they are a team by themselves. In addition to the personal list, the points of single player tasks will also be accumulated to their respective teams. The top 10 in the personal list and the team list will receive special rewards issued by the Alliance every quarter. These rewards are very generous. Therefore, most of the teams are in a competitive relationship. Although the Alliance has expressly prohibited private fights between teams, the vast infinite star abyss is very common, and often all members of a small team will be buried in the sea of stars. Not died in the mission, but died at the hands of fellow humans. Easy, let me see what personal tasks the Alliance has issued. Xia Xingchen said to the handring. Yes, I will send the mission star map now, please receive it. The artificial intelligence Easy replied. In front of Xia Xingchen, a 3-dimensional virtual projection appeared. It was a star map of the endless star abyss. The endless star abyss was very vast, and it was said to be 100 times larger than the Milky Way. Most of the areas were dark, and they were all unexplored star regions. In addition, there were many deep red areas, which were dangerous areas such as black holes. It was not suitable for a mecha master of Xia Xingchen's level to explore for the time being. Alliance missions were marked with yellow exclamation marks. Some areas had more yellow exclamation marks, and some areas had fewer yellow exclamation marks. Chapter 1392 Starry Sky Continent. Xia Xingchen thought about it, and decided to go to a star region called Kalanda. The reason for choosing this place is that the yellow exclamation marks in this star region are very dense, and there are many Alliance missions that can be performed. There are many missions, so there are naturally many choices. There are also many teams performing tasks in this star region, including the first team of the Alliance, Halo, and many small and medium-sized teams, all perform tasks in this star region. There are many people, so there are naturally many mouths. No matter how domineering the Iron and Blood team is, it is impossible to risk the ban of the Alliance and hunt him down in public. Xia Xingchen chose the Kalanda star region more for his own safety. In places with many people, it is easier to fish in troubled waters and hide your whereabouts. Let's go. Target Kalanda. In the starry sky, the figure of the King Lang Mecha flashed and flew towards the dark sea of stars. In a blink of an eye, 10 days passed. Xia Xingchen and the King Lang Mecha appeared in a dilapidated space transfer station. The infinite star abyss is too vast, so the Ascendant Alliance has set up transfer stations in many places. Through the transfer station, you can be teleported to other transfer stations, greatly shortening the voyage. On the wall outside the transfer station, a huge Arabic numeral 13 was written in white reflective paint. Perhaps because this number is unlucky, the entire transfer station is empty and no one can be seen. Xia Xingchen jumped off the mecha and put the King Lang mecha into the portable space. With a calm face, he entered the interior of the transfer station. An old model robot stood in front of the counter, acting as a receptionist. After Xia Xingchen asked the robot, he walked through a long corridor and entered a wide hall of more than 1,000 square meters. In the hall, there were 6 men and 1 woman, 7 mecha masters talking. In front of them, there was a long-distance transmission device. On the screen next to it was a star map, marking the star fields where other transfer stations were located, making it clear at a glance. Xia Xingchen did not walk to the transmission device immediately. The omniscience field quietly extended and passed over the several mecha masters present, and he was suddenly a little shocked. Of these 7 mecha masters, 3 are planetary level, and the remaining 4 are high level nebula level, although not planetary level. Judging from their costumes, they are not from the same team, but are lone rangers like Xia Xingchen. Most of them are lonely, and don't like to be bound by the team. Some are too weak to join the team. However, judging from the mental power level of these people, they obviously do not belong to the latter. Seeing Xia Xingchen walk in, these people showed surprise on their faces, and looked at Xia Xingchen. After seeing Xia Xingchen, the 3 strongest planetary level looked at each other with a snicker in their eyes. My ally, are you also going on a mission alone? We are all lone rangers. Why don't we go on a mission together, so that we can take care of each other? The female mecha master among the 7 people was in her 30s, with a beautiful face, fair skin, long golden wavy hair, and a curvy figure. She looked very charming, and smiled charmingly at Xia Xingchen, with a bit of teasing in her tone. Go together? Xia Xingchen was slightly startled, looking at this group of people in surprise. Their strength is not weak, although not enough to join the 3 major teams of the alliance, but it is more than enough to join the ordinary teams ranked at the bottom. If you like to go on missions together, why not join a team? If you like to go alone, why go on a mission together? Although Xia Xingchen is young, he is not a fledgling. He knows that these people are acting abnormally, and I'm afraid they have ulterior motives. I'm going to the Kalandastar region. Where are you going to carry out the mission? Xia Xingchen did not expose her, but smiled. Kalandastar region. The charming woman was slightly startled, turned back and looked at the 3 planetary levels, and her face was full of astonishment, but she quickly turned her head, and said with a smile, coincidentally, a few of us are also going to the Kalandastar region, so it's just right to go on a mission together. We will help you with your teleportation points, and it can be regarded as an acquaintance. Xia Xingchen looked normal, but sneered in his heart. These people are afraid that they think of themselves as fat sheep. Once they leave the Alliance's surveillance, they will be slaughtered. Xia Xingchen heard from Gao that there are some shameless people in the Alliance who specialize in robbing and killing lone travelers. Not only do they rob spaceships, mechas, and points, but they also want to kill them. However, since the other party is willing to be a sucker and pay for teleportation points for himself, Xia Xingchen will naturally not refuse such a good thing. Next, the charming woman paid 500 alliance points for Xia Xingchen, and the group entered the long-distance teleporter together. Swish! A flash of light passed by. When Xia Xingchen opened his eyes again, he found that he had arrived at transfer station number 3, which was the transfer station located in the Kalandastar zone. Long distance teleportation will bring strong dizziness and discomfort. But as strong as Xia Xingchen is, he can ignore the discomfort, but his eyes are slightly black. After walking out of the teleporter, Xia Xingchen saw a lot of people shaking in the transfer station. In comparison, transfer station number 3 is much more lively. Looking out of the transparent glass of the transfer station, you can see a huge land not far away, floating in the dark starry sky. That's right. It's not a round planet, but a flat, irregular huge land. Xia Xingchen took a breath of cold air. He had never seen a star of this shape in the starry sky. This is your first time in Kalanda. This is not a naturally formed star, but a nest of star-eating worms. The charming young woman came up and said with a smile. Star-eating worms. Xia Xingchen narrowed his eyes and recalled the information of star-eating worms in his mind. Star-eating worms are the most powerful zerg in the boundless star abyss. Compared with the solitary tunnel worms, star-eating worms are a huge group. Star-eating worms feed on planets and cast indigestible excrement into nests. They are extremely hard. Over time, they form the huge Kalanda continent. It is precisely because of the special nature of the Kalanda continent that it is not spherical, but it falls apart without gravity. My name is Irene. The charming young woman stretched out her hand to Xia Xingchen. Let's go on the mission together. The Kalanda continent is very dangerous. Newcomers should not run around. It's much safer for us to act together. No need. I'm used to acting alone. Thank you all. Let's say goodbye. Xia Xingchen did not shake hands with Irene, but turned down with a cold face. You. Irene was stunned. She did not expect that Xia Xingchen would reject her, and so straightforward. This ally, the Kalanda continent, is really dangerous. If you join us, there will be many benefits. A planet level man could not help but say. Xia Xingchen did not speak, but just shook his head to refuse. Ungrateful, we helped you pay 500 points, and you actually. Another planet level man saw Xia Xingchen's stubborn look, and couldn't help getting angry. The surrounding mecha masters heard the noise here and immediately cast curious eyes. Hog, forget it. There are too many people here. A tall planetary man, obviously the leader, walked up and grabbed his companion, turned to Xia Xingchen, and said coldly, maybe you have misunderstood something. But forget it. My name is Robin, and I hope we can meet again. After saying this, Robin took the rest of the people and left the transfer station. Chapter 1393 City of Light. Xia Xingchen watched Robin's back completely disappear from his sight. A smile appeared on his face, and he waited for a moment before walking out of the transfer station and driving the Qinglang mecha towards the Kalanda continent floating in the starry sky. No matter how Robin and others concealed it, Xia Xingchen was very sure that they had ulterior motives and had no good intentions towards him. Just now, Xia Xingchen deliberately tested Robin and others just to see their reactions and confirm one thing. Now, Xia Xingchen has some answers in his mind. The prohibition of private fighting among alliance members is not an empty letter. Looking at the expressions of Robin and others, you can see that they are very afraid of this ban. Similarly, although the Iron and Blood team is the second team of the alliance, it must also abide by the regulations of the alliance. In other words, within the monitoring area of the alliance, Iron and Fire dare not attack themselves. Soon, the Qinglang mecha had already flown over the Kalanda continent. The entire continent was shrouded in darkness, except for a huge city in front that was brightly lit. This is the base of the Ascendant Alliance on the Kalanda continent, Light City. The walls of the City of Light are 100 meters high and are made of special alloys. There are huge laser cannons in the four corners. The scale of the entire city is not large. The buildings in the city are all made up of the wreckage of the spacecraft. They look shabby and are actually strong on the outside, but weak on the inside. In the middle of the city, there is a huge steel building, which is the office of the Ascendant Alliance in the City of Light. In the office, Alliance members can submit tasks, obtain points rewards, and exchange points for items without having to fly back to the Generation spacecraft. Other buildings in the city radiate from the office as the center. Some buildings look good from the outside and occupy a large area. They are rest areas for large teams. As for small and medium-sized teams, as well as lone rangers, they can only occupy a small space and can only rest in the mecha. Due to gravity, the atmosphere of the Kalanda continent is extremely thin, and there is not enough oxygen for humans to survive. However, there is a transparent glass cover above the City of Light, like a balloon, which confines the air in the city. Even if they don't drive a mecha, humans can move freely in the city without the help of spacesuits. Of course, the air in the city is not fresh. It is discharged again, after being circulated countless times by the air converter. What surprised Xia Xingchen was that, except for the rest areas of several large teams, the interior of Guangming City was quiet and there was no one. After thinking carefully, Xia Xingchen was relieved. Kalanda continent is the territory of the Star Devourer. On the star map marked by the Ascendant Alliance, it is a dangerous area, and it is very difficult to perform tasks here. Therefore, the mecha masters who dare to set foot on Kalanda continent are at least planetary level masters. For the strong, every minute and every second is worth money, and they are reluctant to waste. Moreover, there are no decent entertainment facilities in Guangming City except for a small bar. The mecha master should have gone to the mainland to hunt the Star Devourer and complete the Alliance mission. Xia Xingchen walked straight to the office. Is there a map of Kalanda continent and a list of bounty tasks? Xia Xingchen walked into the office and said to the staff on the opposite side. Before coming, Xia Xingchen had already learned that the relevant maps could be exchanged in the office. Because the area of Kalanda continent is so large and there are many dangerous places, less than 30% of the area has been explored by humans so far. There are also maps on the Generation spacecraft, but they are not the latest versions. It is better to buy the latest version of maps. Any inconspicuous information may determine life and death. Of course. Honorable Corps Member. The staff member is a middle-aged man in his 50s, wearing the silver-white uniform of the Ascendant Alliance. After confirming Xia Xingchen's identity information, and learning that he is a Corps member, he couldn't help showing surprise on his face. Even in Guangming City, Corps members are rare. Most members of the Alliance will use the points they have earned hard to exchange items, or enter the meditation room. Improving one's strength, even if it is only a little bit, may save lives at critical moments. As for using points to improve the Alliance level, only the senior members of the big team, who have a large number of points in their hands, will slowly improve. What is the identity of this young Corps member? In the office, there were several mecha masters who were receiving bounty tasks. After learning that Xia Xingchen was a Corps member, they all looked over curiously, quietly discussing and guessing his identity. Here is the latest version of the map of Kalanda continent, which was just updated yesterday. There are also some updated last week. One is 1000 points, and the other is 500 points. The middle-aged man explained to Xia Xingchen respectfully. The latest one. Xia Xingchen took out the bracelet without thinking, and paid 1000 points. 1000 points is not a small amount for most people. However, the map is related to his life, and Xia Xingchen has never been stingy in this regard. After exchanging the latest map of Kalanda continent, Xia Xingchen got the task catalog for free. After a glance, Xia Xingchen found that most of the tasks here are hunting tasks. Star Swallower, Worker, 100 points. Star Swallower, Advanced Worker, 500 points. Star Swallower, Male, 1000 points. Xia Xingchen has read the information of Star Swallower. Even the smallest worker is dozens of meters long, and the largest is even hundreds of meters. A Star Swallower worker can only be exchanged for 100 points. The Star Swallower tribe is very large, and there are tens of thousands of workers in one tribe. The key is, such a huge insect, did it carry its corpse thousands of miles back, just to exchange for 100 points? You know, there are only a few space rings in the entire Milky Way. Moreover, the capacity of the space ring is very small, and it can only hold a worker insect corpse at most. Xia Xingchen muttered in his heart. At this time, a burly man walked into the office, threw the bag in his hand on the counter, and shouted, "I'm finally back alive. Exchange points for me. I really can't stay in this damn place for a minute." Xia Xingchen's omniscience scanned over and was stunned. This man's mental power is extremely strong, and he is actually a star level powerhouse. You know, even Xia Xingchen's master Roger, who is known as the strongest man in the world, is only a mid-level star. The Light Angel Michael and Kao Kong, the mental power level is also mid-level star. Star level powerhouses are very rare. This man is actually a star level powerhouse. Although he is at the beginner level, he is also qualified to enter the top 100 of the Galaxy Legend list. Chapter 1394 Grey Hills. It's Senior Sulai. This time we went deep into the heart of the Kalanda continent, and it seems that we have gained a lot. Only a star level powerhouse like Senior Sulai has such ability to escape from such a dangerous place. A slightly fat middle-aged man, the supervisor here, walked out from the inside of the office. He smiled at the big man and kept flattering him, which made the tall man laugh. Sulai. So he is Sulai, the star level powerhouse ranked 9th in the Alliance's individual points list. He likes to be alone, and he is hard to find. I didn't expect to meet Senior Sulai this time. In the office, the other mecha masters were slightly startled when they heard the name Sulai, and then they all showed admiration on their faces. In any place in the starry sky, the strong are respected. Well, let me see how many points Senior Sulai earned this time. The fat middle-aged man opened the bag that Sulai had thrown on the table. Inside were diamond-shaped crystals in red, green, blue, etc. Colorful like gems, shining brightly, very beautiful. What is this? Xia Xingchen looked puzzled. This young friend, you should be new to the Kalanda continent, and have never hunted star-eating worms before. Sulai looked at Xia Xingchen with a smile on his face. Well, Xia Xingchen nodded. These are insect crystals. Sulai explained enthusiastically. Star devourers like to devour metal minerals. Over time, the essence condenses in their brains and crystallizes into nuclei, which are called insect crystals. Insect crystals are the essence of star devourers and their most valuable things. Therefore, the Alliance uses insect crystals to calculate points. The crystals of high-level worker insects are green, male insects are red, and king insects are blue. The more you hunt, the more familiar you will become. I see. Xia Xingchen suddenly realized that points were calculated using insect crystals, and there was no need to move the entire insect corpse back, which would be too laborious. Senior, what color is the crystal of worker insects? Why haven't I seen it? Xia Xingchen continued to ask. The crystal of worker insects is gray. One is only 100 points. And worker insects like to dig holes underground and hide everywhere, which is very difficult to find. I'm too lazy to hunt them. Sulai said. Thank you for your advice, senior. Xia Xingchen thanked Sulai. The points settlement results came out immediately, and Sulai earned a total of 200,000 points. Hearing this huge number, the surrounding mecha masters were envious. 200,000 is not a small amount. Although this trip is hard, it is worth it. Sulai was in a good mood, and the smile on his face became even brighter. Only 200,000. Xia Xingchen remained silent. Xia Xingchen only carried out one mission, and he killed 2 tunnel worms, and earned up to 2 million points. Sulai, a star-level strongman, worked hard to earn only 200,000 points, but was satisfied? Xia Xingchen thought for a while, and realized that the last time he killed 2 tunnel worms, and earned a high amount of points was due to luck. First of all, tunnel worms are rare. Secondly, behind the 2 tunnel worms, there is another star-level tunnel worm. Xia Xingchen also used all his skills, and escaped from its net by chance. The difficulty of the task is proportional to the reward. Even a star-level strongman like Sulai, facing that terrifying tunnel worm, is estimated to have only the fate of falling. Sure enough, earning alliance points is a very hard thing. Xia Xingchen sighed in his heart. This young friend. Sulai was satisfied, and was about to leave the office. Suddenly, he turned around, and said to Xia Xingchen with a serious expression. Senior, please speak. Xia Xingchen was startled and said quickly. I see that you are so young, but you have become a legend. Your future is limitless. You should be a rare genius among humans. But, your current strength is too weak. Kalanda continent is not the place you should come to. I advise you to leave immediately. It's not too late to come here, when you are stronger. Sulai said with a serious expression. Thank you, senior. Xia Xingchen thanked Sulai, but shook his head gently. Sulai saw this, and said no more. A trace of regret appeared on his face, and he turned to leave. Sulai likes to walk alone, because he doesn't want to have too many concerns. He doesn't want to say more, if he is just a acquaintance. However, he really couldn't bear it. Seeing a young genius fall in Kalanda continent, he said a few more words. Since the other party didn't listen, it was naturally useless to say more. Xia Xingchen looked at Sulai's back, and stood there for a long time without saying a word. Whether it was Robin or Sulai, they were not optimistic about themselves, and thought they could not survive in the Kalanda continent. Of course, this was normal. The data showed that even planetary level mecha masters had to work together to perform tasks on the Kalanda continent in order to hunt the Star Devourer safely. Even a star level powerhouse like Sulai called this a ghost place. It can be seen that the Kalanda continent is full of crises. However, Xia Xingchen would not be scared off by these difficulties. If you want to earn points quickly, you must take risks. While thinking, Xia Xingchen left the City of Light and drove the Qinglang Mecha towards the depths of the Kalanda continent. In the cockpit, Xia Xingchen carefully read the map of the continent he had just bought, designated a preliminary route, and then closed the three-dimensional map. The Qinglang Mecha was very fast, and it reached the edge of the safe area in a short while. Leaving the safe area means leaving the surveillance of the Alliance. What awaits Xia Xingchen is not only the threat of the Star Devourer, but also the pursuit of the Iron and Blood team. Xia Xingchen flew into the air, looking at the vast continent shrouded in darkness, took a deep breath, and flew towards the depths. Xia Xingchen did not dare to fly at low altitude. The Star Devourer was dormant underground. The noise generated by the low altitude flight of the Mecha awakened the Star Devourer, and they attacked in groups. Even a star-level strongman could not escape death. Xia Xingchen followed the map and flew carefully towards the target location. Xia Xingchen was lucky along the way, except for seeing a huge male insect sticking its head out from the ground. It immediately shrank back when it saw the mecha flying over. No other star devourer was encountered. After flying for 40 hours, Xia Xingchen finally arrived at his destination, a grey hilly area. According to the records on the map, this area is the gathering place of star devourer workers. The Qinglang mecha was suspended in the air, and Xia Xingchen looked down at the earth with a touch of joy on his face. That's it. The map calls this place the Grey Hills. Compared to other areas, there are a lot of star devourers here. A small number of high-level workers. Occasionally there are males. Xia Xingchen unfolded a panoramic view in the air, and his omniscience penetrated hundreds of meters underground, exploring the tunnels and nests of star devourers. However, Xia Xingchen was not in a hurry to take action. The Azure Dragon mecha kept moving and exploring around the Grey Hills. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1395 Crazy Hunting. After 3 full days, Xia Xingchen finally stopped exploring. He already had a clue. In the past few days, Xia Xingchen confirmed several conjectures. First, there are very few human mecha masters who come to Grey Hills to hunt. In 3 days, Xia Xingchen did not observe any human mecha masters passing through this area. The reason is that the Grey Hills is remote, far away from the City of Light, and not on the route of several popular areas. On the other hand, it is not because the danger level of Grey Hills is too high, but because the danger level is too low. Second, there are indeed many worker insects in this area lurking underground, digging tunnels, and digging the ground like a maze. Worker insects are the weakest star-eating insects, with strength equivalent to that of a human mecha master at level 40. For a legendary mecha master, they are a very weak creature. However, worker insects are good at hiding, and like to hide underground, so it is difficult to find them. Even if they are found, their grey insect crystals can only be exchanged for 100 points, which is too little. Therefore, most human strongmen disdain to hunt worker insects. This is another reason why Grey Hills is rarely visited. The third point is also the most important point. It may be that a large number of worker insects have occupied the living space of high-level star-devouring insects. There are so few high-level star-devouring insects in the Grey Hills. As the intelligence shows, only male insects appear at most. Male star-devouring insects are a kind of insects bred specifically for fighting, and their strength is equivalent to that of nebula-level insects. If Xia Xingchen encounters 1 or 2 male insects, he can easily deal with them. Even if he encounters a group of male insects, he has the confidence to retreat unscathed. In other words, the area of Grey Hills is very safe. Xia Xingchen can hunt here with peace of mind. Hunting a worker insect can only be exchanged for 100 points, which is indeed very little. But, what if hunting 100? Then it is 10,000 points. 1,000 is 100,000. 10,000 is 1 million. Gathering sand into a tower. Gathering streams can become an ocean. Hunting worker insects, the important thing is not how to hunt, but how to find them from underground. Other mecha masters may find it troublesome. Finding 1 or 2 is easy, and finding thousands of hidden worker insects makes your head swell just thinking about it. But Xia Xingchen has a panoramic view. The panoramic map can penetrate hundreds of meters underground. Any hidden worker insects will be exposed without any trace. Let's start the hunt. Xia Xingchen smiled, and the Azure Dragon mech landed on the ground. In his hand, or thunder spear with arcs of electricity condensed. Swish. 20 meters below the Azure Dragon mech, there was a worker insect hiding. The thunder spear pierced into the ground, accurately pierced the body of the worker insect, picked it out from the ground, broke open its brain, took out a grey insect crystal, and put it into the portable space. The worker insect is indeed weak. However, its hiding ability is strong. The life detector on the mech did not respond at all. Fortunately, I have a panoramic map. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly and walked forward. Under the panoramic map in his mind, the thunder spear in the Mechas' hand kept piercing out like lightning, piercing one worker insect after another, and picking out the insect crystal. Under the grey hills, there were star-eating insect workers everywhere, densely packed. In just a few hundred meters, Xia Xingchen successfully hunted dozens of worker insects. It's like picking up money. The speed of earning points is too terrifying. Xia Xingchen was delighted, and was glad that he didn't foolishly challenge the advanced Star Devourer like other Mecha Masters. But it's still too slow. A few hours later, Xia Xingchen had hunted hundreds of insect crystals. He felt that more than half of his mental power was consumed, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He felt a little exhausted. The Star Devourer workers were very weak, so hunting didn't require much effort. However, maintaining a panoramic view required a lot of mental power. Most of the mental power was consumed by the thunder spear piercing the ground. The land of the Kalanda continent is not ordinary rock, but a special alloy excreted by the Star Devourer. It is dense and very hard. Although the thunder spear can pierce through, the mental power consumed is also very amazing. Go underground to kill. Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows, and the Qinglang Mecha suddenly stepped on the ground, and the ground suddenly cracked, and a huge crack appeared. The Qinglang Mecha jumped down, and entered a tunnel that was like a maze. The killing officially begins. The starry sky is devoid of sun and moon. In the dark and boundless abyss of stars, time passes quickly without anyone noticing. In the blink of an eye, a whole month has passed. Ever since Xia Xingchen came to the Grey Hills, the star-devouring worms here have suffered. No matter how the star-devouring worms hide, Xia Xingchen can accurately find them, kill them and take the insect crystals. Even the underground tunnels, that are like a maze and spider webs, cannot stop Xia Xingchen's footsteps. This is the effect of the panoramic view. Haha, I killed another 10,000 workers. Xia Xingchen looked at the grey insect crystals that were like a hill in the portable space, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Every time he collected 10,000 grey insect crystals, Xia Xingchen would return to Guangming City to exchange points, take a break, and enjoy some delicious food to reward himself. Hunting star-devouring worms alone is fulfilling, but also boring. Within a month, Xia Xingchen has returned to Guangming City for the third time to exchange insect crystals at the office. Even the director of the office was shocked by Xia Xingchen's efficiency. Another 10,000 grey insect crystals? In 1 month, you hunted 30,000 worker insects? Earned 3 million points? Supervisor Cal took a breath of cold air, looking shocked. You know, even a star-level powerhouse like Su Lai can only earn 200,000 points a month when he goes out hunting. Star-eating insects are not lambs to be slaughtered. The higher the level of star-eating insects, the higher their IQs, and they may even set traps to surround and kill human mecha masters. Of course, the IQs of star-eating insect workers are much lower, with almost no IQs, just following the instincts of life and hiding everywhere. Xia Xingchen's speed of earning points is comparable to that of the top 3 teams in the alliance. Xia Xingchen smiled and silently calculated that with another 2 million points, he could exchange enough basalt ice crystals to build a basalt mecha. Although hunting worker insects is very boring and tiring, however, Xia Xingchen thought that he would soon have a third holy beast mecha, and the fourth holy beast mecha was not a dream. He was immediately refreshed, and his fatigue was swept away, and his whole body was full of strength. Guangming City is not big, and news spreads quickly. The story of Xia Xingchen soon spread throughout Guangming City. A nebula-level newcomer who hunts star-devouring bug workers every day, and earns points like crazy. What he lacks in quality, he makes up for in quantity. Although he is just a worker, if he hunts enough, the points he earns are also amazing. In just 1 month, this newcomer earned 3 million points. It is equivalent to the total tasks of all people in a large team in a month. Chapter 1396. 3 major teams gathered. You can earn points by hunting star-devouring worms. A little bit adds up to a lot. In 1 month, you can actually earn 3 million points. It's really eye-catching. Such a clever method. Why didn't I think of it? In Guangming City, the legends were all discussing this matter, thinking that this was a good way to get rich. Immediately, Some teams followed Xia Xingchen's example and stopped hunting high-level star-devouring worms, only hunting workers. However, soon, all these teams gave up. The reason is simple: the efficiency is too low. Hunting workers is indeed easy, but it is difficult to find workers from underground. Instead of spending a lot of time here looking for workers underground, it is better to hunt male insects and king insects, which are high-score star-devouring worms, and earn tens of thousands of points a month. That newcomer must have a special detection device. Only in this way can he quickly find the worker insects hiding underground. That's right. Worker insects are good at hiding and can reduce their life characteristics to the minimum. The life detector has no reaction at all. Maybe they use mental power to detect. Mental power detection? No. The rocks on the Kalanda continent are very special and can isolate mental power. Unless he is a legend with perception abilities and has awakened the field of perception. In Guangming City, many mecha masters were talking about Xia Xingchen. The members of those small and medium-sized teams and the Lone Rangers envied Xia Xingchen. Even the members of the big teams were jealous. You know, even the top 3 teams in the alliance, under normal circumstances, the total points in a month are only 2 million. Xia Xingchen earned 3 million points in 1 month. It's crazy. Many people wanted to emulate Xia Xingchen, but they all failed. They could only watch Xia Xingchen make money and were very jealous. It wasn't until another more shocking news came that Xia Xingchen's limelight was suppressed. The first team of the Ascendant Alliance, Halo, the second team, Iron and Blood, and the third team, Freelancers, gathered in Kalanda. Moreover, the captains of the 3 teams all came this time and met in Guangming City. The 3 teams gathered. This is a big event that has never happened before. Anyone can imagine that there will be a big event on Kalanda. Many mecha masters speculated what big event will happen. The brave mecha masters were delighted, thinking that this was an opportunity to get some benefits with the 3 teams. The timid mecha masters thought that it would be dangerous to stay in Kalanda, so they left the continent immediately and waited and saw what would happen at the transfer station. In any case, Kalanda, which was already a popular area, became even more popular. The transfer station and Guangming City were already overcrowded. Every day, a large number of mecha masters came to Kalanda, and some mecha masters kept leaving. Guangming City. Office. Conference hall. In the conference hall, 3 men sat at a round table in a triangle, with smiles on their faces, but hostility in their eyes. These 3 men are the captains of the 3 major teams. Bisso of the first team Halo. Hallis of the second team Iron and Blood. Chris of the third team Freelancer. You two. We were competitors before, but this time, we have to join forces to hunt the star-devouring queen. This is an extremely difficult task, and it is extremely difficult. Therefore, I hope everyone can put aside their prejudices. The tall Hellas stood up, with a smile on his face, and said loudly, "Of course. But, Bisso is a white man with sharp eyes, wearing a neat uniform and elegant manners. Hunting the queen. With the strength of the 3 of us, there should be no problem. The key is how to distribute those queens." Chris wore a wide-brimmed hat on his head, had a scruffy beard, and dressed like a bebop cowboy. "It depends on your strength." Hallis shrugged his shoulders. "What do you think?" "Okay. Then we will rely on our strength. We will catch the queens in a month." Bisso nodded in agreement. "I agree too." Chris smiled and took the lead in extending his right hand. The other 2 strong men then also stretched out their right hands, and the 3 hands overlapped together to reach a temporary covenant. After the covenant was reached, the 3 major teams of the alliance sent their elite teams to the depths of the Kalanda continent to carry out secret missions. There is no wall that is impenetrable. The 3 major teams have many people and many mouths, and some information has been leaked. They are going to hunt royal insects. In Guangming City, many mecha masters were surprised and looked surprised. Royal insect? What is a royal insect? There is no royal insect option on the hunting mission scoreboard of the alliance, and there is no information about royal insects. However, an insider revealed that the royal insect is the royal family of the star-devouring insects, and the number is extremely rare. A star-devouring insect colony has only 1 mother queen, less than 100 royal insects, and tens of thousands of king insects. There are millions of male insects. There are countless worker insects and advanced worker insects. After receiving this news, some mecha masters who think they are powerful also enter the depths of the Kalanda continent one after another, wanting to try their luck and see if they can hunt royal insects. Although the royal worm cannot be exchanged for points in the alliance, it can be sold to the 3 major teams at a high price. The points provided by the 3 major teams are only higher than those of the alliance. Grey Hills. Xia Xingchen is still hunting the Star Devourer workers, unaware that something big is happening on the Kalanda continent. In the deep underground maze, more than a dozen huge male insects are roaring and attacking a mecha frantically. The piercing roar vibrates underground, tearing the eardrums, and the stone pillars in the center of the tunnel are swept into pieces. These male insects are completely crazy and attacking frantically. The Star Devourer workers are flat in shape, like a large leaf. Their attack method is very simple, relying entirely on the 2 claws in front and the 2 sharp huge jaws in their mouths. After all, the duties of the workers are to find and collect food and build nests, and their attack power is not strong. The Star Devourer males are born specifically for fighting. They look completely different from the workers. They are red all over, and their bodies are like huge tentacles, but they are hundreds of meters long and more than 10 meters in diameter. There are hundreds of mouths all over the body, and the mouths are full of fangs. The male insects are very scary, and they are ugly creatures that only appear in nightmares. The fighting power of male insects is proportional to their ugliness. The powerful strength, tough body, and the neurotoxins that can be secreted from their teeth make most mecha masters stay away from them. And now, more than a dozen male insects are frantically attacking the Kinglang mecha. Chapter 1397. Rapid Progress. Xia Xingchen had been dodging. The speed of the Azure Dragon Mech was astonishingly fast. It kept shaking and shuttled through the crazy attacks of more than a dozen male insects, leaving several blurred after images. Swish. Xia Xingchen relied on the panoramic view to keenly capture a flaw. The thunder spear in the hands of the Azure Dragon Mech instantly stabbed out, and a leaping lightning rushed out, and the dark space was instantly illuminated. The thunder spear accurately pierced the head of a male insect, broke through the hard shell, and crushed the brain. It was extremely accurate. Although the male insect's attacks were fierce, they were huge in size and there were gaps in their attacks. Under the panoramic view, Xia Xingchen used these gaps, and killed the male insects one by one as accurately as a scalpel. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen male insects were slaughtered. Among the piles of insect corpses, Xia Xingchen took out the insect crystals and put them into his personal space, with a touch of joy on his face. There are 13 insect crystals in total, and one can be exchanged for 1000 points. A total of 13,000 points. I've made a profit. Xia Xingchen didn't dare to stay here any longer, and immediately left the underground, and flew into the air. Recently, Xia Xingchen found that there were more and more male insects in the Grey Hills, and they often came in groups, wanting to surround and kill him. Xia Xingchen has been hunting for a while, and he has comprehended the unity of heaven and man technique in battle, constantly transforming the power of faith into mental power, and his strength has also improved by leaps and bounds. Even if more than a dozen male insects came together to surround and kill, they were not Xia Xingchen's opponent, and they would just give him points in vain. However, this also indicates that the mother nest of the star-devouring insects has discovered the abnormality of the Grey Hills, so they sent male insects here to stop Xia Xingchen from killing. If Xia Xingchen continues to stay in the Grey Hills, there will be more and more male insects surrounding and killing him, and even a king insect with higher combat power will appear. It seems that the hunt in the Grey Hills is coming to an end. Xia Xingchen sighed, somewhat reluctantly. These days, in the Grey Hills, Xia Xingchen was not just killing the Star Devourers unilaterally, but also often encountered danger. With the help of the panoramic map, Xia Xingchen was able to rush out from the weak point every time before the Star Devourers completed their ambush. If it weren't for the panoramic map, Xia Xingchen would have been buried in the belly of the worm long ago. Omniscience is invincibility. Xia Xingchen understood Master Roger's words more deeply. In addition to earning a large number of points, Xia Xingchen constantly honed his mental power and madly improved himself in the high-intensity battles. After these days of training, coupled with the help of harmony between man and nature and source of faith, Xia Xingchen was surprised to find that his mental power level had actually been improved again, from the middle level of Nebula to the high level of Nebula. The high level of Nebula was upgraded so smoothly this time. Xia Xingchen was a little bit unbelievable and thought carefully. It should be the credit of harmony between man and nature in the meditation room of the Ascendant Alliance. No matter what, the upgrade is the upgrade. Xia Xingchen was overjoyed. He now faced a choice. At the higher level of the Nebula class, the mental power is more refined, which means that Xia Xingchen can take back the mental clone to the main body, making the main body's mental power stronger. Or, split another mental clone. Adding the previous mental clone, Xia Xingchen will have 2 mental clones, and can drive 3 mechas at the same time. According to Roger's instructions, Xia Xingchen should gather his mental power together to improve the main body. In this way, it will be easier for Xia Xingchen to break through to the planetary level, or even the stellar level. It is beneficial to future practice. If the mental clone continues to be divided, it is equivalent to weakening the main body, which is not good for future practice. But being able to drive one more mecha can greatly improve combat effectiveness in a short period of time. Both choices have their pros and cons. Xia Xingchen thought for a while, then looked up at the other side of the starry sky. Master, I'm sorry, I didn't follow your teachings. I want to walk my own path. This should be what you want to see. Xia Xingchen didn't waste time, and struck while the iron was hot. He raised the Qinglang mecha to a high altitude, hid himself, sat cross-legged in the cockpit, and began to differentiate his mental power. Wow. The mental power planet in Xia Xingchen's mind, like cell mitosis, split from the middle again, and turned into 2. Xia Xingchen's face couldn't help but twist, and his brows were furrowed. The mental planet is the origin of the soul. The split of the mental planet is like the soul being torn apart. The pain goes beyond the genetic level, and is the pain at the soul level. Even Xia Xingchen couldn't bear it. After a long time, Xia Xingchen finally slowly opened his eyes. His whole body was soaked with sweat, as if he had been fished out of the water. His face was extremely pale and weak, but a smug smile still appeared on the corner of his mouth. Second clone, it's done. After a rest, Xia Xingchen's expression recovered a little, and he drove the Qinglang mecha slowly towards the direction of Guangming City. Entering Guangming City, Xia Xingchen clearly felt that the atmosphere here was different from before, and there were many more mecha masters in the city than before. Hundreds of mecha masters were scattered all over Guangming City, and even in the safe area outside the city, there were round glass tents, just like camping sites. What happened? Xia Xingchen was curious, and went straight into the office. While exchanging points, he asked the staff for information. This time you got more. A full 1.2 million points. The staff said in surprise, you have been hunting outside, and you don't know that the captains of the 3 major teams have arrived in Guangming City. They seem to be working together to carry out a big task. 3 major teams, including Iron and Blood. Xia Xingchen was stunned, and a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. After 2 months of combat training, Xia Xingchen has successfully become a high-level Nebula level, and has differentiated a second clone, greatly increasing his strength. However, with Xia Xingchen's current strength, it is still a pipe dream to want to compete with the second largest team in the Alliance, Iron and Blood, not to mention the star-level Hellas. Any deputy captain of Iron and Blood, or even a team leader, is a planetary level powerhouse. They can easily crush Xia Xingchen. We must continue to keep a low profile. We can't confront Iron and Blood head on for the time being. Well, it seems that we can't stay in the outer areas of the Kalanda continent anymore, and we have to go deeper into the hinterland. Xia Xingchen already has a plan in mind. So far, you have accumulated 5.2 million points. This time, you still don't exchange any items like before. The staff asked. No. Exchange them all. Xia Xingchen shook his head and said in a deep voice, all the points I have. Exchange them all into basalt ice crystals. Exchange as many as you can, as soon as possible. Basalt ice crystals? The staff was startled. He had never met anyone who exchanged such items, but he was not in a position to ask more. After checking that Xia Xingchen's authority was indeed able to exchange, he sent an application to the Generation Spaceship headquarters. A few minutes later, Hundreds of kilograms of silver white metal were transported from the Generation spacecraft to the office and then delivered to Xia Xingchen. Chapter 1398 New Mecha Zuanwu. Basalt Ice Crystal. Xia Xingchen stood up immediately, unable to hide his joy on his face. It was not suitable to stay here for long, so Xia Xingchen put away the basalt ice crystal and left Guangming City immediately. Xia Xingchen found an abandoned tunnel on the outskirts of Kalanda continent and took out the basalt ice crystal for a search. Basalt ice crystal is a strange silver white metal. It is said that this metal can only appear in the depths of the 10,000 years of ice. The hardness of basalt ice crystal is extremely high, even exceeding the hardest alloy that human technology can smelt, titan alloy. Above the basalt ice crystal, white mist floated, icy and piercing, causing the surrounding temperature to drop sharply to about -50 degrees. Xia Xingchen was very curious and stretched out his hand, wanting to gently touch this beautiful and intoxicating metal. So cold. As soon as the fingertips touched the surface of the basalt ice crystal, they shrank back, as if they were electrocuted. Xia Xingchen was shocked to find that his fingers had been frostbitten. The temperature of this basalt ice crystal is too low. It's more than 100 degrees below zero. Xia Xingchen was shocked and exclaimed, "There are such wonderful and extreme metals in the universe. The attribute of the Azure Dragon Mecha is wood. The attribute of the Vermilion Bad Mecha is fire. The attribute of the Basalt Mecha is ice." Xia Xingchen is even more looking forward to what the attribute of the White Tiger Mecha is. Judging from the manufacturing material, the White Tiger Xingchen, it should be gold without a doubt. Originally, Xia Xingchen planned to find another place to slaughter the star-devouring bug workers. At most 3 to 4 months, he could collect points to exchange for the White Tiger Xingchen to build the White Tiger Mecha. However, the 3 major teams suddenly gathered on the Kalanda continent, which made Xia Xingchen alert. Therefore, he could only build the Basalt Mecha first to improve his combat power. Xia Xingchen laid a space-time beacon and contacted the Star Domain Arc, preparing to teleport the basalt ice crystal back to the spacecraft and build the Basalt Mecha. The Promoter Alliance also has long-distance transmission technology. However, this technology is completely different from the space-time beacon. The transmission distance of the space-time beacon is hardly affected by space. Even in the distant infinite star abyss, Xia Xingchen can get in touch with the starfield arc far away on the Lingjiu star after positioning. This is the advanced technology of ancient humans. Jia, what is the situation on the Lingjiu star? Has Andre made a comeback? Soon, Xia Xingchen got in touch with Jia. No. Jia answered very straightforwardly. According to the known information, Andre seems to have fled back to the Northern Empire. It seems that Andre was defeated again in the Battle of Lingjiu Star, and the Shinran sect was annihilated. It was a big blow to him. Xia Xingchen smiled. It's good that he fled back to his hometown. However, you tell Li Huami to be careful and vigilant and guard Lingjiu Star. Andre is very cunning. Maybe fleeing back to the Northern Empire is a mocker screen he threw, deliberately misleading our sight. I will convey it truthfully. Jia said. Jia, I have found enough basalt ice crystals. You immediately prepare other materials, make a basalt mecha, and help me send it over. Xia Xingchen said. A normal legendary mecha weighs about 80 tons. The height of the basalt mecha is 18.88 meters, which is heavier than a normal mecha, weighing more than 100 tons. Several hundred kilograms of basalt ice crystals are only the core part of the mecha. The other parts still require a large amount of expensive titan alloy to cast. Thanks to Kinjana's efforts, the business of the Star Alliance is booming, and it has also acquired several medium-sized military enterprises. Money is not a problem at all. Okay. Jia replied. Xia Xingchen immediately used the space-time beacon to send the basalt ice crystals back to the Star Domain Arc. In addition to the basalt ice crystals, Xia Xingchen also sent the energy core obtained from Dan Fangsheng, the legendary mecha designer of the Kingstar Pirates, to Jia. The energy core is Dan Fangsheng's life's work. A mecha equipped with an energy core can be called a tri-domain mecha. Domain mecha can double the domain range and effect of the mecha master, and improve the combat effectiveness to an extremely terrifying level. Xia Xingchen's panoramic view is already quite powerful. If the effect is doubled again, He can have insight into the entire battlefield. Or the slightest movement cannot escape his perception. Just thinking about it, Xia Xingchen was excited. Xingchen. After receiving the energy gathering core and basalt ice crystal, Xia immediately replied, I have received the relevant mecha materials, and the drawings of the basalt mecha have also been input into the manufacturing unit. After analysis and testing, the basalt ice crystal you obtained is of grade 1, which meets the minimum standard for manufacturing basalt mecha. Excuse me, are you sure you want to manufacture it? Grade 1, what does it mean? Xia Xingchen was startled and asked hurriedly. Basalt ice crystal is an extremely rare special metal, divided into 3 grades in total. The basalt ice crystal you obtained is of grade 1, and the performance of the basalt mecha manufactured will also be discounted, not the strongest state. Xia explained. I understand. Xia Xingchen nodded gently. The performance of mecha is directly related to the materials used to make it. The same is true for Xia Xingchen's Suzuki mecha. When it was first made, the 3-legged golden crow energy crystals used were not enough to bring out the strongest performance of the mecha. Later, Xia Xingchen obtained sufficient energy crystals in the secret room of the queen of the Liang tribe, which allowed the Suzuki mecha to evolve to its complete state. How can the grade of basalt ice crystals be improved? Xia Xingchen asked. Use special equipment for refining. Xia replied. Can the star domain make such equipment? Xia Xingchen asked hurriedly. No. Xia answered very simply. We don't have the relevant technology. Then how much is the performance gap between a mecha made with a 1st grade basalt ice crystal and a 3rd grade basalt ice crystal? Xia Xingchen was very helpless. Even the star domain did not have this technology. In the Milky Way, I'm afraid that no one can improve the grade of basalt ice crystals. According to my simulation estimate, the performance gap may be 40% to 60%. Xia said after some calculations. Xia Xingchen took a breath of cold air, with a look of surprise on his face. The gap is so big. But, there is no way. The basalt ice crystals are too rare. Even this grade of basalt ice crystals are exchanged by me with great effort. Since there is no way, don't think about it anymore. Make it. It takes about 7 days to make a basalt mecha. Xia replied. So long? Xia Xingchen was slightly startled and said, then you speed up the production. For 7 days, Xia Xingchen certainly couldn't wait here foolishly. He put away the time and space beacon, drove the Qinglang mecha, and flew towards the depths of the Kalanda continent. Xia Xingchen wanted to find a place like the Grey Hills, continue to hunt the star-devouring bug workers, and continue to earn points to exchange for the white tiger Zhengjin. However, on the map of the Kalanda continent, places like the Grey Hills did not exist, and Xia Xingchen had to enter an unexplored area. Chapter 1399, Encountering Pursuers. Whoosh. A few days later, a cyan mecha flew across the dark sky of Kalanda, leaving a faint trail. Full panorama. Sense the surrounding space. Xia Xingchen carefully detected the space of hundreds of kilometers around the Azure Dragon mecha. He was not only trying to avoid high-level star-eating bugs, but also to avoid human mecha masters. The mecha masters of the 3 major teams went deep into the hinterland of Kalanda to carry out secret missions. A day ago, Xia Xingchen encountered 2 groups of people. However, the panorama discovered in advance that Xia Xingchen was hiding. The 2 groups of people were in a hurry and did not find Xia Xingchen's trace. They flew through the sky in their mechas. Although Xia Xingchen was a little curious about what mission the 3 major teams were carrying out in Kalanda, his strong self-control suppressed his curiosity and did not continue to explore. The affairs of the 3 major teams have nothing to do with me. The most important thing for me now is to continue hunting star-eating bugs and earn a lot of points. Xia Xingchen's thoughts were very clear and he entered a stone forest. Xia Xingchen was pleasantly surprised to find that there were many worker insects dormant under the ground of this stone forest, and there were also many advanced worker insects, which were just right for him to hunt. This is it. The Qinglang mecha landed slowly, and Xia Xingchen used this place as a new hunting ground. Whoosh. The Qinglang mecha shattered the ground with one kick, entered the tunnel, and began a new round of killing. Outside the stone forest, a mecha team was flying quickly. Their mechas were all black and red, with the logo of the Iron and Blood team on them. There were 3 mechas in front to lead the way, and 3 mechas in the back to guard the rear. The 4 mechas in the middle were carrying a huge oval black container. Captain, a high energy reaction was detected under the stone forest ahead. A team member suddenly stopped and reported. Stop. Captain Adelaide was a white man in his 40s with flowing golden curly hair, looking like a lion. He suddenly raised his hand and asked the team to stop. The high energy reaction disappeared. The team member looked at the energy detector on the mecha and said in surprise, "It could be a dormant star-eating worm. Captain, let's not worry about it. The escort mission is more important," an older team member reminded. "Donnie, use your perception to scan it." Adelaide frowned and ordered. "Yes, sir." Orthan Mecha Master nodded. He was a perception type mutant with supermental sensing ability. Swish. The mental power scanned the ground like a carpet. It's human. In Donnie's perception, a vague figure was hiding in the ground. It flashed by and was covered by the shadow. However, the mental fluctuations of this person were clearly imprinted in his mind. Human? Could it be those Lone Rangers? Forget it. Let's go. Adelaide shook his head and said, "Captain, if I'm not mistaken, this person's mental fluctuations are exactly the same as the one the captain asked us to hunt down." Donnie couldn't help laughing. "Let's hunt that guy down. Could it be that Xia Xingchen?" Adelaide's body shook, and a smile appeared on his face. "Great. It is said that the captain personally invited Xia Xingchen to join our team. But this kid didn't know the time and refused. The captain was furious and issued a hunting order. He must be taken back. If he dares to resist, he will be killed without mercy. But this kid is too slippery and escaped without a trace. Unexpectedly, he was hiding in the depths of the Kalanda continent. We are very lucky. We actually met him. Catching him back will be a great achievement, and the captain will definitely reward us. Yes. This is a pie in the sky. The captain has always been generous. If we catch Xia Xingchen back, everyone may get a reward of tens of thousands of points." The other team members also showed joy on their faces. They are all planetary level powerhouses. According to intelligence, Xia Xingchen is only a nebula primary. 10 planetary level powerhouses can easily deal with a nebula primary. "Donnie, lock his position. We will catch him," Adelaide ordered. "I'll try my best." Donnie nodded and said with a smile. Swish. This Iron and Blood mecha team swooped down from the sky and flew towards Xia Xingchen. "We've been discovered." Xia Xingchen hid underground, turned off the mecha engine, and used the hiding method to hide his breath. But he didn't expect that the other party would still fly towards him. There must be a strong person from the perception system. Xia Xingchen immediately knew the reason. There are very few legendary people in the perception system. However, if they are targeted, it will be very troublesome. The other side has a large number of people, and they are all planetary level. We can't fight head on. Xia Xingchen made a decision immediately, and the Kinglang mecha quickly fled to the distance along the tunnel dug by the star-swallowing worm. He actually escaped. It turns out that he is a cunning coward just like the rumors. Donnie sneered. Under his perception lock, Xia Xingchen's figure flickered underground, but he could never get rid of his perception. "Don't worry, let's see where he can escape to." Adelaide sneered, like a cat playing with a mouse, watching Xia Xingchen escaping underground. The speed of the mecha underground is far less than that in the air. No matter how Xia Xingchen escaped, he could not escape. "Still following me? It seems that you know my identity and think you have me in your hands." Xia Xingchen fled for a while and found that the other party was like a leech, flying over his head, not attacking, but just following, obviously teasing. "Asshole, you really treat me as a mouse." Xia Xingchen simply stopped running and sent a video request to negotiate with the other party. "Oh, you actually sent a video request?" Adelaide raised his eyebrows and connected the video. "Iron and Blood, what do you mean? Why are you following me all the time?" Xia Xingchen said angrily. "Haha, Xia Xingchen. Don't play dumb. You have offended us, Iron and Blood. Don't expect us to let you off so easily. With your little strength, I advise you not to run away. It's useless to run away. It's just embarrassing. Just surrender, be tied up by us, kneel down in front of the captain, and admit your mistakes. Captain Hellas is magnanimous, and I believe he will forgive your sins." Adelaide sneered and glanced at Xia Xingchen. Sins? What sins have I, Xia Xingchen, committed? Xia Xingchen's eyes burned with anger. Disobeying the strong. Being weak is your sin. This universe is the law of the jungle. Adelaide said bluntly, with an impatient look on his face. Surrender quickly. Otherwise, I will kill you without mercy. The captain has ordered that, if you bring your body back, you will also receive the reward. Chapter 1400 Crushing. Kill me. Xia Xingchen was startled and said coldly, aren't you afraid of violating the Alliance's ban? Adelaide sneered, what a bullshit ban, it's just empty talk. Besides, this is the depths of the Aranda continent. There are thousands of kilometers in radius, no one lives, only star-eating bugs. Do you still expect the star-eating bugs to report your death back to the Alliance? It seems that there is no room for negotiation. Do you really think I'm a lamb for you to slaughter? If you want to kill me, I will make you pay the price. Xia Xingchen's eyes were full of coldness, and he cut off the video transmission. But the dragon wings behind the Azure Dragon mech spread out, broke out of the ground, and rushed towards Adelaide with a roar. Capture the thief and the king. What a fast speed. The mecha divisions of the Iron and Blood team were all shocked. Swish, swish, swish. 3 zigzag blue tracks appeared in the air. The Azure Dragon mech was traveling in the sky and its speed was close to sublight speed. The target of the Azure Dragon mech was not Adelaide, but the perception type mech master Donnie beside him. As long as Donnie was killed, and the tracking means of this group of people were cut off, with the speed of the Azure Dragon mech, it would definitely be able to shake off the rest of the pursuers. Huh, so crazy? Donnie was shocked, and manipulated the mech to dodge in a panic. The combat ability of the perception type mech master was weaker than that of other mech masters with special powers. Whoosh! The thunder spear swept across, like a dead tree and rotten wood, and instantly swept Donnie's mech in half, exploding in midair, and turning into a ball of fire. Donnie is dead. He is at the planetary level after all. No matter how weak his combat power is, he can't be killed by a nebula level attack. Everyone in Iron and Blood was stunned on the spot, and couldn't believe their eyes. So weak. There is such a weak planetary level. Xia Xingchen was also a little surprised. He originally only planned to severely injure Donnie and find a chance to escape. Unexpectedly, Donnie's fighting power was too weak. His mental power was one level higher than his own, but he couldn't even block his ordinary attack. Or am I too strong? Xia Xingchen looked at his hands in surprise, feeling that his strength and marksmanship had improved a lot without him noticing. In 2 months, Xia Xingchen killed tens of thousands of star-eating insects. Even if he was stabbing at a wooden stake, his marksmanship would be greatly improved. What's more, Xia Xingchen was not hitting a wooden stake, but a real high-intensity battle. The perception type mutant is dead. Escape. Xia Xingchen didn't want to fight at all. The King Lang mecha flew in an arc in the air and quickly fled into the distance. You killed someone, and you still want to escape? Adelaide was the first to react from the shock. He gritted his teeth and his face was full of anger. This kid is very slippery, we can't let him escape. Kill him and avenge Donnie. Everyone listen, open the Iron Curtain. Iron Curtain. To deal with a human, we actually have to open the Iron Curtain? He's too fast. Only the Iron Curtain can stop him from escaping. The remaining 8 people of the Iron and Blood team were shocked, but they all obeyed Adelaide's order. Each of them held a black diamond crystal in their hands and poured their mental power into it crazily. The real mission goal of this 10-man team is to capture the royal bug. The royal bug is an extremely rare insect with powerful mental power. In order to successfully capture the royal bug, Hallis spent a lot of points and exchanged a terrible mental weapon for each team. This mental weapon, called Iron Curtain, cannot be used by one person at all. It must be used by 10 people together. The power is extremely terrifying. Buzz, 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 buzz. 9 mechas and 9 black diamond crystals, after being infused with spiritual power, emitted a dark light, as if they were real. Swish. Black light flickered, and countless black silk threads appeared, linking each other together to form a huge black diamond prison, trapping the King Lang mecha inside. Boom. A muffled sound came from the world, and the original world disappeared, leaving only a dark space. Xia Xingchen had completely fallen into the Iron Curtain. What is this? Xia Xingchen was shocked. In the dark Iron Curtain space, there was a terrifying breath that made people's heart palpitate everywhere, and the powerful energy flow was running around like a snake. I was teleported to another space. Xia Xingchen controlled the Qinglang mecha and kept dodging the attacks of the energy snakes. The panoramic view unfolded, but was suppressed by the dark Iron Curtain and could not penetrate out. No, it's not another space. Instead, it's a special weapon activated by spiritual power, using powerful energy to isolate the space. Xia Xingchen observed and felt carefully. Space and time are both a special form of energy. As long as the energy is strong enough, it can tear space and reverse time. This is the so-called breaking the void. The energy of the Iron Curtain device is too strong, isolating the space and preventing the outside world from interfering. Get out. Xia Xingchen's heart was determined, and a huge silver-white drill condensed in his hand, and he roared, "Open the sky." Boom. The drill carried terrifying energy, emitting a dazzling light that shined like a galaxy and slammed towards the Iron Curtain fiercely. Stupid. How can you fight the Iron Curtain with brute force? Adelaide in the distance sneered. This Iron Curtain is a device we use to capture the Emperor Worm. As powerful as the Emperor Worm is at the stellar level, it was defeated by the Iron Curtain. Just wanting to break it is simply a dream. Iron Curtain, energy burst. With Adelaide's order, black energy beams began to appear from all directions of the Iron Curtain, moving quickly towards the Qinglang mecha. These energy beams moved so fast that even the Qinglang mecha could not dodge. Swish. In an instant, the outer armor of the Azure Dragon mech, swallowing stars, was burned to ashes, and the mech skeleton cast by the Azure Dragon divine wood below was exposed. Ah. It hurts. Xia Xingchen also screamed. He felt his skin being burned by the high temperature, and it seemed to be melted. This is because the mental force sensing device on the Azure Dragon mech is highly compatible with Xia Xingchen's spirit, and the synchronization rate is extremely high. The pain of the Azure Dragon mech is also reflected on Xia Xingchen's body. Xia Xingchen's skin also has a large area of red spots, as if it was burned. Flying in the sky, Xia Xingchen tried his best, and the Azure Dragon wings behind the Azure Dragon mech flapped, suddenly accelerated, and escaped the attack range of the energy beam. Ding dee dee, the damage rate of the mech exceeds 80%, and the degree of damage is too high. It cannot be repaired by itself for the time being. On the screen in front of Xia Xingchen, the three-dimensional image of the Azure Dragon mech turned red. Except for the core Heart of Thunder that was not damaged, the rest of the parts had varying degrees of damage. What's more serious is that the Azure Dragon mech is famous for its strong recovery ability. In battle after battle, as long as the enemy's attack does not exceed the Azure Dragon mech's recovery threshold, it can continue to recover in battle, almost immortal. However, this Iron Curtain device, with just one blow, caused the Azure Dragon mech to be damaged by more than 80%. Faced with such a powerful attack, the Azure Dragon mech's recovery ability seems insignificant. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.